Chapter 1000. Lin Yuan knew about the Radiance Federation's extreme arena. Not only the royal capital, but the major cities in the Radiance Federation also had a place that specialized in handling faction grudges. This place was the extreme arena. After all, the population in the big cities was very dense, and many ordinary people lived there. Even when king-class experts fought with each other, as long as one side was not crushed by the other, they would instantly lose their resistance. It could cause a great impact. Therefore, the major factions' experts were not allowed to fight in private in the big cities. Of course, there were exceptions. If the experts of the two factions fought in the royal capital, it would not cause a bad impact. The Spirit Guards and the Iron Law Institution could not be bothered. Lin Yuan had just decided to completely get rid of the Jing family, the enemy that had been established since Sky City was established. He did not expect Jing Kaiyuan to have already decided how to attack Sky City. Actually, this was within Lin Yuan's expectations. After all, Lin Yuan had called Jing Kaiyuan at the Nix assembly to make Jing Kaiyuan arrogant. Lin Yuan looked at Jing Kaiyuan, who was abnormally respectful and fawning toward him, and the corners of his mouth curled up inexplicably. The extreme arena requires both sides to agree to participate in the extreme arena. If Sky City doesn't agree to participate in the extreme arena, won't your preparations be in vain? Zheng Kaiyuan narrowed his eyes, which revealed a ruthless glint. Brother Lin, given your status, I don't think you will spend time on the extreme arena between factions. You probably don't know the rules of this extreme arena. Most of the extreme arena agreed upon between factions are gambling. The Spirit Guards and the Iron Law Institution are the witnesses, and the two major factions sign a bet. Finally, they will send out experts to fight. The losing party needs to complete the agreement with the other party according to the contents of the bet. This kind of gambling extreme arena is the most common way for the major factions to use force to solve problems. After all, it is very difficult for two factions with comparable strength to kill the other party in a faction struggle. However, I think the agreement with Sky City is not the common gambling extreme arena between factions, but the Blood Oath extreme arena. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes, which revealed an inexplicable look. When Zheng Kaiyuan saw the look in Lin Yuan's eyes, he suddenly felt like he was being stared at by a dangerous behemoth. There was a strong sense of oppression in his heart. Lin Yuan did not have any research on the Radiance Federation's pole arena, but the diligent genius had been absorbing all kinds of knowledge on the star web. Therefore, Lin Yuan was very clear about the bet extreme fight and the Blood Oath extreme fight. The bet of extremity duel could be seen as the two sides using force to negotiate, using force to solve problems that couldn't be solved through negotiation and resource wars. Under normal circumstances, it was very rare for members of both factions to die in a bet. However, the Blood Oath extreme battle was completely different. The Blood Oath extreme battle would only end when the members of one side were all dead. When all the members sent out for the Blood Oath extreme battle were killed, it proved that this faction was weak in terms of peak strength. Moreover, the Blood Oath extreme battle itself symbolized that the battle between the two forces could not be resolved. Hence, in the Blood Oath extreme battle, all the resources of the faction whose peak combat power was wiped out would be taken over by the other faction. The Iron Law Institute used the method of blood oaths in the extreme arena to mediate the conflicts between the major powers. It could be said that 2/3 of the Radiance Federation's factions had disappeared in the pole arena. The pole arena was like a huge meat grinder that constantly devoured the lives of the experts between the factions. However, it was also because of the existence of the pole arena that the war between the factions would not threaten the safety of ordinary people. The Blood Oath extreme battle is a little interesting. But I remember that when one side issued the Blood Oath extreme battle, the other side can also choose not to accept it. Zheng Kaiyuan had mentioned his plan for Sky City just to find an excuse to talk to Lin Yuan. He didn't expect Lin Yuan to be quite interested in what he had to say. Zheng Kaiyuan's heart was immediately greatly encouraged. In Zheng Kaiyuan's opinion, only by talking a few more words with Lin Yuan could his relationship with Lin Yuan improve further. Please don't worry, I have absolute confidence that Sky City will accept the Blood Oath extreme battle. If Sky City doesn't accept the Blood Oath extreme battle, it will lose all its reputation. In the future, no faction will dare to cooperate with Sky City. Even if Sky City decides to be a coward and not come out, I've already grasped its roots. If the Sky Castle is so cowardly, I'll start from the roots and uproot the entire Sky Castle. Zheng Kaiyuan did not say what the root of Sky City was, but Lin Yuan felt that he should be talking about the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Before the start of the Evernight Assembly, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had been disturbed by the Zheng family's spies. Of course, these spies were all cleaned up by Duan He in the process of investigating the Spirit Deer Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yuan felt that Zheng Kaiyuan's statement was rather interesting. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had never been the root of Sky City. It was just an exposed branch of the big tree that was Sky City. However, Zheng Kaiyuan's idea had solved a lot of Lin Yuan's problems. Through the Blood Oath Extreme Duel, Lin Yuan could also kill the Zheng family's experts. Instead, they would occupy Zheng Kaiyuan's resources. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan was considering his words, Zheng Kaiyuan's eyes flickered as he gathered his courage and asked, "Brother Lin, would it be possible for you to attend the Blood Oath battle between the Zheng family and Sky City?" Lin Yuan glanced sideways at Zheng Kaiyuan and asked, "I remember you are the second young master of the Zheng family, right? Can you stand out and make a decision for the Zheng family?" Zheng Kaiyuan hurriedly said, "My father didn't agree at first, and he didn't allow me to attack Sky City. Didn't I borrow 2 Pinnacle Emperor-class experts from the Miao family who possess 2 Pinnacle Myth 3 Fays? I even convinced my father to ask my grandfather to join the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. My grandfather also has a Pinnacle Myth 3 Fey. Let's see how Sky City can block such strength." Zheng Kaiyuan, who had been extremely inflated recently, could not help but reveal a touch of madness even in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan curled his lips when he heard Zheng Kaiyuan's words. Previously, he had only heard of cheating the father, but he had never heard of cheating the master. No matter how powerful a peak emperor was, if one didn't reach the Overlord realm, they wouldn't be able to fight against Endless Summer and the Killer Butterfly. There was a huge gap between emperor level and emperor level. Lin Yuan said to Zheng Kaiyuan meaningfully, "Don't worry. I won't be going to the extreme arena. There won't be any emperor-class combat power, so it'll be boring. I'll have time in a few days. You can visit the manor at any time after the Blood Oath Extreme battle." The first one was even worse. End of chapter. Chapter 1001. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Zheng Kaiyuan revealed an ecstatic expression. Miao He, who was standing at the back, looked at Zheng Kaiyuan with resentment and fear. Miao He was already suspicious of Zheng Kaiyuan's relationship with Lin Yuan. Miao He didn't think that Zheng Kaiyuan could be related to the Moon Empress disciple given his status. If Zheng Kaiyuan wasn't Miao Jisheng's son, Miao He wouldn't even look at him. After all, Pinnacle Faction's younger generation core members didn't even bother to interact with veteran faction's descendants. However, Zheng Kaiyuan had such a good relationship with the Moon Empress disciple, but he didn't plead for leniency for him and even stepped on him. What kind of demon cousin is this? Miao He had already made up his mind that if he could survive this calamity, even if Zheng Kaiyuan was still appreciated by his grandfather and the Miao family, he had to be absolutely irreconcilable with Zheng Kaiyuan. Moreover, Zheng Kaiyuan had mentioned 2 experts with Pinnacle Myth 3 Fays. One of them was his elder brother's Path Protector, and the other was his Path Protector. Now, they seemed to have become Zheng Kaiyuan's subordinates. Miao He had always been arrogant and looked down on others. Even if Miao He was afraid of the punishment he was about to receive, he still looked at Zheng Kaiyuan with hatred. Miao He felt that he had been wronged. Putting aside the fact that he didn't do anything, he still had to watch Zheng Kaiyuan act. Zheng Kaiyuan's surname wasn't Miao. Even if his grandfather valued him, he was still a veteran faction's descendant. However, Zheng Kaiyuan's words made people think that Zheng Kaiyuan was like the Gao family's Gao Feng, who had been accepted as a disciple by Her Majesty. Zheng Kaiyuan originally wanted to talk more with Lin Yuan so that Lin Yuan would have a deeper impression of him. He didn't expect to receive Lin Yuan's invitation to visit the mansion at any time. In Zheng Kaiyuan's opinion, this was a great honor. Moreover, Wasn't his grandfather thinking about how to apologize to Lin Yuan in exchange for the golden lotus brocade stock that was of great help to creation masters? If he went to the mansion and settled the matter, then he might directly join the Miao family's elder council in the beast creation garden. By then, he could openly use the Miao family's resources to promote the Jing family from a veteran faction to a pinnacle faction. Zheng Kaiyuan, who was scheming in his heart, did not know that Lin Yuan was also scheming in his heart. The only thought in his mind now was to take advantage of the Blood Oath Extreme Duel to obtain a few law crystals at the pinnacle of Myth 3 that were suitable for him. In that case, he would soon obtain the opportunity to enter the next world with complete laws. No matter what, the Jing family was an old force that had been developing for 100 years. If Sky City could take over the offline resources of the Jing family, they could absorb the useful resources and dispose of the useless ones. Sky City would be able to quickly obtain a huge amount of materials and resources, and achieve great development. The Jing family's function was in the luxury goods direction, which coincided with the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's function. It could help the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce expand its luxury goods resources. Lin Yuan patted Jing Kaiyuan's shoulder as a form of encouragement. Even though the doors of Yimei Hall were closed, everyone could still hear the faint cries of pain. Everyone thought of Kai Qing eating the fire thorns in the room and felt their hair stand on end. Because no one could imagine what would happen to a person after eating a fire thorn. After a long time, Yimei Hall's door was opened. Steward Kai walked over with a delicate plate with no fire thorns but only stone eel slices. He was sweating and trembling. Sir, Kai Qing has already finished all the fire thorns in the fire thorn cooked stone eel. While speaking, Steward Kai saw the noble-looking youth in front of him pull up the corners of his mouth into a slightly cold arc. He said in a clear voice, "Since Kai Qing has eaten all the fire thorns, you shall eat the remaining stone eel slices." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Steward Kai felt his knees go weak. The stone eel slices on the plate were not cooked and had not absorbed enough fire poison to neutralize the neurotoxins in them. Thus, the stone eel meat still had a powerful mental poison. If he ate it, would it still be good? Upon seeing the expression on Steward Kai's face, Lin Yuan frowned again. A feeling of disgust arose in his heart. Steward Kai looked very similar to Kai Qing, and they should be blood-related. Of course, it didn't matter if they were blood-related or not. When Tian Ningning was almost half dead by Kai Qing, Steward Kai had mercilessly thrown her out. He even wanted to detain Tian Ningning's fei. His actions were no different from Kai Qing's. Seeing that Steward Kai was trembling and not moving, Lin Yuan ignored him and looked at Miao He. I, Lin Yuan, have always believed in this saying. If there is a mistake, bear it yourself. Don't implicate your family. Miao He wasn't the only one who heard Lin Yuan's words. Even the younger generation of the rising and veteran factions, who knew that Lin Yuan had an extraordinary identity, let out a breath of relief in their hearts. No matter what, the consequences of this matter had ended when it came to him. No matter how severe the punishment was, it would not implicate the faction behind him. Lin Yuan looked at Tian Ningning and asked, "They injured you? They hurt you? What are you going to do?" Tian Ningning felt that Lin Yuan was extremely handsome. As a girl, Tian Ningning didn't think that Kai Qing would end up badly. If it wasn't for Lin Yuan, Tian Ningning didn't dare to imagine what would have happened to her. If she had been thrown out, the crystal horned stag might not have survived either. Lin Yuan, only Kai Qing and Steward Kai injured me. It's not anyone else's fault. Before you came out, this person even helped me block an attack from the blunt-winged wild wolf. Otherwise, my crystal horned stag might have been bitten to death by the blunt-winged wild wolf. Therefore, I just need Kai Qing and Steward Kai to pay the price. Lin Yuan didn't say anything, but the way he looked at Tian Ningning was more appreciative than before. It was an extremely rare quality to still maintain one's original heart in such a situation. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the youth with the flat nose whom Tian Ningning had pointed at earlier speak. "Why don't we leave our contact information with young Lady Tian? If young Lady Tian thinks of how to punish us or if you need anything, just give us a call." If there is anything we can do or need to do, just give us an order, and we will do our best to complete it. Tian Ningning's eyes lit up. The second was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 1002. There were 20 to 30 young masters in front of him, and they were from both new and old forces. There was also Miao He, who came from a top force. Now that these people had given him their contact information, his information channels would be greatly expanded in the future. It would also help him better as Black's exclusive reporter, as well as his identity as the team's reporter. All right. Then leave your phone numbers with me. You didn't attack me in the first place, so you don't owe me anything. I only hope that when I contact you for some information in the future, you can tell me a thing or two. After saying that, Tian Ningning shook the second-class Star Web Reporter badge hanging on her chest to show everyone that she was a Star Web Reporter. Everyone looked at Tian Ningning with gratitude in their eyes. He felt that Tian Ningning was his second parent. Everyone enthusiastically added Tian Ningning's phone number and told her their phone number. He planned to repay Tian Ningning's kindness to the best of his ability in the future when Tian Ningning needed his help. If Lin Yuan had looked at Tian Ningning with admiration before, then he now felt that Tian Ningning had an ability that was very similar to listen. That was the use of interpersonal relationships. Tian Ningning could imperceptibly turn enemies or strangers into her own resources. With these resources, Tian Ningning's future development in Star Web would definitely improve. After Tian Ningning added everyone's phone numbers, Lin Yuan noticed that Steward Kai still didn't dare to reach for the stone eel slices on his plate. Lin Yuan glanced at Miao He, who was looking at Zheng Kaiyuan with a gloomy gaze. Since they invited you to this party, you should take some responsibility for this conflict. Miao He's heart thumped. He originally thought that he had escaped a calamity, but he didn't expect to be called out by the Moon Empress disciple. At this moment, Miao He's hatred for Zheng Kaiyuan almost reached its peak. Miao He felt that if Zheng Kaiyuan had not deliberately mentioned it, he would not have been called out again. Lin Yuan's identity was there, and he was the true son of heaven. Thus, Miao He didn't dare to have any negative emotions, let alone hate Lin Yuan. These negative emotions were automatically transferred to Zheng Kaiyuan by Miao He. Miao He quickly bowed and braced himself. Lord Lin Yuan, I came to attend the banquet after receiving news of the invitation. I didn't expect such a thing to happen. If you want me to take responsibility, I'm willing to take any punishment. At the same time, I can also give a large amount of resources to Miss Tian as compensation. Lin Yuan nodded in response. You can talk to Tian Ningning about this in private. You've seen everything that happened in the Spirit Food Pavilion. I'll leave it to you to explain to the Spirit Food Pavilion. After speaking, Lin Yuan glanced at Steward Kai and continued speaking to Miao He. I'm sure you'll be able to handle the rest, right? Upon hearing that, Miao He immediately understood Lin Yuan's meaning and hurriedly replied, That's right. Don't worry, my lord. If some people eat less of what they should eat, not only will they fail to live up to my lord's good intentions, but they will also fail to live up to the famous 300 plates of kitchen incense palace. Leave everything here to me. Lin Yuan ignored Miao He and left the Spirit Food Pavilion with the remaining money after settling the bill with Tian Ningning at the front desk. On the way to the mansion, Lin Yuan saw that Tian Ningning kept looking at him as though she had a lot of questions but didn't know how to ask. Lin Yuan said, If you have anything to ask, just ask. There's no need to keep it in your heart. It's still the same thing I said during the meal. Say everything you know and don't hold back. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Tian Ningning no longer hesitated and hurriedly asked the questions in her heart. I wonder if it's convenient for you to tell me why so many of the younger generation of the veteran factions and top factions are speaking up for your original identity and attacking your identity as the combat class spirit chi professional, Black? Upon hearing Tian Ningning's question, Lin Yuan raised his brows. Lin Yuan knew that Tian Ningning would ask this. This question was also what Lin Yuan intended to tell Tian Ningning when he looked for her this time. It's because they found out who my master is during the next conference. Upon hearing that, Tian Ningning immediately became curious. Let alone a Class 2 reporter like Tian Ningning, even the few Class 5 reporters on Star Web did not have the qualifications to interview the Nix conference. Thus, the Nix assembly was incomparably mysterious to Tian Ningning. However, Tian Ningning knew that those who were qualified to enter the Nix assembly were at least core members of the younger generation of top veteran factions. Tian Ningning had already guessed that Black or Lin Yuan's identity was extraordinary. It was obvious just by looking at the contracted phase. Even if an ordinary person was talented enough to comprehend a willpower rune, they would not be able to obtain a silver/fantasy breed healing type Fae. However, Tian Ningning simply couldn't think or didn't dare to think about Lin Yuan's master's identity. Even the direct descendants of the top force's younger generation were so afraid of him. At that moment, Tian Ningning recalled the person who had spoken up for them on Star Web. It was the person who had been verified as the young palatial lord of Yeyang Palace. At that time, Tian Ningning only thought that Long Tao had used his connections to ask the young palace master of Yeyang Palace to speak for him. But now, it seemed that the young palatial lord of Night End Palace probably knew Lin Yuan. Tian Ningning said half-jokingly. Your master can't be the Moon Empress, right? As soon as the words left her mouth, Tian Ningning felt that her words were a little rude. How could the Moon Empress casually joke about it? Even if this joke didn't have any evil intentions, before Tian Ningning could retort, she saw Lin Yuan nod and smile brightly, revealing his white teeth. Lin Yuan's smile directly crashed into Tian Ningning's heart. It made Tian Ningning subconsciously think that Lin Yuan's appearance seemed to be more capable of fighting than his strength. At that moment, Tian Ningning saw Lin Yuan nod and say, "That's right. My master is the Moon Empress." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Tian Ningning, who was riding on Blackie's back, nearly slipped and fell off Blackie's back. After knowing Lin Yuan's identity, Tian Ningning didn't say a word along the way. She had a sluggish expression as she digested the information that Lin Yuan provided. Tian Ningning suddenly felt that this world was a little mystical. How did I suddenly become the exclusive reporter of the Moon Empress disciple? After digesting for a moment, Tian Ningning suddenly raised her head and looked at Lin Yuan with burning eyes. It could be said that after today's contact, Blackie had become more realistic and three-dimensional in Tian Ningning's heart. Back then, that low-profile little hero who had commanded the Sea of Flowers in Millstone Town actually had such an illustrious identity. Chapter 3. End of this chapter. Chapter 1003. As Tian Ningning lamented Lin Yuan's identity, she felt a sense of pressure in her heart. As the Moon Empress disciple's exclusive reporter, Tian Ningning felt that she still had many areas to improve. After returning to the mansion, Lin Yuan asked Wen Yu to settle Tian Ningning down and introduce her to everyone in the mansion. Tian Ningning followed Zhang Xiaobai and the others to the Dome Guild Club's location and began to understand the Guild Club's current situation. He was going to solve the possible negative impact of them jumping from the Extreme Guild Club to the Dome Guild Club on Star Web. Lin Yuan looked at the time. Just as he was about to enter the Spirit Lock spatial zone to enhance the snake phase for his new daughter, Wendy, to Bronze/Legend, Listen and Hu Quan walked in from outside. Listen hurriedly took 2 steps forward, took out a phase storage box, and handed it to Lin Yuan. "Young master, these are 50 questions beasts that Qin Luan gave me. He said that you need them." Listen was a little puzzled. The 100 questions beasts in the phase storage box were not in good condition and had mixed fur. Even some ordinary people were not willing to buy such 100 questions beasts as their housekeeping beasts. Why did Lin Yuan want 50 of them? Listen could not imagine what use Lin Yuan had for these 100 questions beasts. Listen felt that this phase storage box of the 100 questions beast was quite lucky. No matter how humble their origins were, their fate had changed when they reached Lin Yuan's level. Lin Yuan reached out to take the phase storage box that contained the 50 questions beasts. "Listen, take Qin Luan and Qin Yu with you for a while. Let Qin Luan have a good experience. In addition, Qin Yu is now 12 or 13 years old, which is the age to go to school. However, Qin Yu has no foundation at all, so it is not realistic to go to school directly. Find a full-time teacher for Qin Yu and let him tutor him for a year." "Alright, he will have a good foundation next year and go to the royal capital's low-class Spirit Chi Academy. Lin Yuan had already decided to accept Qin Luan and Qin Yu, so he naturally had to consider their development. Although Qin Luan ran a fei store and knew the ways of the world, it was not the same as knowledge. Qin Luan had been working hard in the store and rarely came into contact with the outside world, which was equivalent to having a thin veil covering his eyes. Lin Yuan asked Listen to take off the veil in front of Qin Luan's eyes. Sometimes, knowledge was far more important than strength. Anyway, he had not found the rare and precious extreme night jade scorpion for Qin Luan and Qin Yu, so Qin Luan could not improve his strength even if he wanted to. Qin Yu was still young, so going to school at this age was undoubtedly the best choice. It wouldn't be too late to talk about other things after he grew up. Listen nodded in response. Don't worry, young master. I will definitely take care of these matters. It's just that Qin Yu is 12 or 13 years old. It's a little too old for him to take the first-year exam for the royal capital's low-rank Spirit Chi Academy. If Qin Yu is willing to endure hardship and learn more knowledge in this 1 year, he can directly go to the royal capital's Spirit Chi Academy's 4th-year examination. This can ensure that Qin Yu is surrounded by people of the same age, and Qin Yu can also better integrate into the group. When Lin Yuan heard Listen's suggestion, he felt that it made sense. In a low-class Spirit Chi Academy where there were many children, children's words carried no harm. As a transfer student, Qin Yu was likely to be ostracized and isolated by his classmates, regardless of whether he was too old or too young. Given Qin Yu's character, which had been shaped by the pressure of survival at such a young age, even if he was isolated, he would only endure it. This was likely to cause Qin Yu's originally cheerful personality to become unsociable. If such a thing really happened, it would go against Lin Yuan's original intention of letting Qin Yu study at the royal capital's intermediate Spirit Chi Academy. Therefore, Listen's suggestion of a 4th year was indeed Qin Yu's best choice. Now that the matter was handed over to Listen to handle, Lin Yuan was very assured that Listen was reliable. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Hu Quan chuckle. Lin Yuan, according to what you said a few days ago, I have carefully selected 500 spirit craftsmen from the Heavenly Craft Pavilion. After I told them about my request to live in seclusion, only 35 brats decided to participate. Later on, when I said that I had secluded myself from the world for 10 years, quite a few brats were tempted. In the end, there were about 130 people. In the end, after I mentioned the benefits you offered, all the little bastards rushed to participate. In the end, according to your request, I only chose the little bastards who immediately decided to participate after I said that I would live in seclusion. When the Heavenly Craft Pavilion accepted people, I passed these spirit craftsmen's abilities. Some of the little bastards who decided to participate at the beginning were weak, and some were older. But they are loyal and worth nurturing. Last night, I asked these people to prepare the items needed for the seclusion. These people are now gathered in the Heavenly Craft Pavilion. If young master needs them, I can bring them over at any time. In fact, through Lin Yuan's request to choose spirit craftsman, Hu Quan, a class 5 spirit craftsman who had devoted himself to studying spirit craftsmanship, had a feeling in his heart. Ability was not as important as loyalty. Through this choice, Hu Quan divided the Heavenly Craft Pavilion's more than 500 spirit craftsmen into several grades in his heart. This grade wasn't based on ability, but on the degree of loyalty. Hu Quan planned to nurture the first batch of 35 spirit craftsmen who had chosen to live in seclusion in the future. Hu Quan planned to observe the second batch of spirit craftsmen who had come forward. As for the more than 300 spirit craftsmen who had not been willing to live in seclusion at first but had chosen to live in seclusion after learning of Lin Yuan's generous conditions, Hu Quan intended to give up on nurturing them. He would only teach them some basic things, and the Heavenly Craft Pavilion's tedious work would be handed over to these people. As a Class 5 spirit craftsman, no matter how skilled Hu Quan was, he would not be able to be the teacher of 500 spirit craftsmen at one time. Compared to casting a wide net in the past, Hu Quan decided to settle down and nurture loyal little bastards. Anyway, the Heavenly Craft Pavilion's spirit craftsmen were paid for their work, and the salary was higher than that of spirit craftsmen who took on part-time jobs outside. It was not a bad deal for those little bastards who he did not intend to guide but were working in the Heavenly Craft Pavilion. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he heard Hu Quan's words. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, "That's right." He thought for a moment and said, "Then, Uncle Hu, bring these 35 spirit craftsmen over. Since they have already prepared the items needed for seclusion, the earlier they work, the earlier they can start the construction of the swamp world. In addition, listen, prepare more building materials for building houses, fey breeding bases, breeding rooms, and other basic and functional facilities." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, Listen hurriedly became serious and asked, "First, more." End of this chapter. Chapter 1004. Young Master, the materials used to build the infrastructure are fine, but do you have any requirements for the materials used to build the functional areas? Lin Yuan said after thinking for a moment. The materials used to build functional buildings don't have to be expensive or hard, but they must be strong and durable. In addition, whether it's the materials used to build the infrastructure or the materials used to build the functional buildings, it's best to use anti-corrosive metals at the silver grade or above. The water vapor content in the swamp world is extremely high. It has a much higher oxygen content than the origin world. Therefore, metals below the silver grade are likely to be oxidized and rusted if they are stored in the swamp world for a long period of time. Using silver and below spirit materials to build an old building in the swamp world is equivalent to building a tofu dregs project that are not durable. After Listen carefully recorded Lin Yuan's request, he said confidently, "That's right. Young Master, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce has been dealing in luxury goods resources. However, with Fei Qianxiong's cooperation, the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce has already sold all non-luxury resources offline channels. It changed from a comprehensive chamber of commerce to a chamber of commerce specializing in luxury goods. The offline resources that the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce dumped have been firmly controlled by the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, the resources that Young Master mentioned should be ready by tonight. When the time comes, I will have someone send it over to Young Master." Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Lin Yuan had chosen to accept Listen and the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce while facing the Jing family's pressure because of Listen's social skills. On the other hand, it was also because of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's functions. Now, Lin Yuan realized how delicious the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's functions were. Without the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, he would need to hoard a lot of materials on Star Web if he wanted to secretly develop the swamp world. Even if these materials were sold on Star Web, it would still take him half a day to buy 100 of them one by one. Now, all this effort was saved. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of Zheng Kaiyuan's words in the Spirit Food Pavilion, and his expression turned slightly cold as he spoke to Listen. "Listen, activate all the funds you have and try to expand your manpower." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's sudden request, Listen was slightly stunned, not understanding what his request meant. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had entered a state of rapid development. He had already finished recruiting people. There were no more and no less. If they were to expand their manpower now, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce would have more idle people. After all, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's business was not that big. However, Listen also knew that since Lin Yuan had made such a request, he naturally considered Lin Yuan's handwriting. "All right, Young Master. I'll return to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce in a while to expand the manpower." With Fei Qianxiong's mind control King Gu, even the newly recruited people can guarantee the minimum loyalty. After developing his faction for so long, he naturally knew the importance of loyalty. Using Fei Qianxiong's mind-controlling King Gu to control the newly recruited people of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce did not sound good. However, as long as these people were not enemies and did not have bad intentions, the mind control King Gu would never take effect. These newly recruited people would not be affected in the slightest. Now that the Zheng family wanted to carry out a blood oath extreme duel with Sky City, they had their eyes on the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Lin Yuan smiled faintly as he looked at Listen, who had a puzzled look on his face but did not ask any questions. I'm trying my best to expand manpower because the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce has a big plate to take over in a few days. This plate is 100 times larger than the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, which has just been promoted to a new faction. If there's no one, we won't be able to take this plate. After talking with Hu Quan, he returned to the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. He was preparing to deal with and strengthen the 50 questions beasts he had bought from Qin Luan. When Genius saw Lin Yuan taking out the phase storage box that contained 50 questions beasts, it meowed and spoke in a childish voice. Lin Yuan, Songming is a little nervous. Songming is going to be a teacher soon. When Lin Yuan saw Genius' nervous and expectant expression, he used his hand to gently scratch Genius' little nose. Smart, then do you have the determination to be a good teacher? Genius meowed. Lin Yuan, Songming will definitely do its best to teach those 50 questions beasts. Through the interconnection tail, I want them to grasp the knowledge as quickly as possible. Upon hearing Genius' words, Lin Yuan immediately released the 50 questions beasts from the phase storage box. These 50 questions beasts had all been bathed by Qin Luan yesterday, so their fur now looked very fluffy and clean. Lin Yuan could see that these 50 questions beasts were either pure or had messy, mottled fur. Either that, or there were stripes on their bodies, but there were many cracks on these stripes. In short, these 50 questions beasts were inferior goods from the Fey market. Even though they weren't as pathetic as Genius, they weren't in a much better state. When Lin Yuan and Genius were looking at these 50 questions beasts, these 50 questions beasts were also looking at Lin Yuan and Genius timidly. The 100 questions beast's intelligence wasn't inferior to that of a human's from the moment Lin Yuan bought it. From the moment Lin Yuan bought them, these 50 questions beasts knew that this human youth in front of them would be their future owner. While the 100 questions beasts were apprehensive, they were abnormally joyful as they breathed in the pure spirit qi in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Pure spirit qi was a fatal attraction to any Fey. It was naturally the same for the 100 questions beasts. What happened next caused Genius to use its tail to cover its eyes. Lin Yuan saw that the fur on the 50 questions beasts' bodies had suddenly fallen off. Subsequently, new fur started to grow on their bodies, and the cycle repeated itself. When the 100 questions beast stopped losing fur, Lin Yuan realized that he didn't do anything and was just relying on the pure spirit qi in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. These 50 questions beasts had already transformed. These 50 questions beasts' grade and quality didn't increase. However, these 50 questions beasts' fur had already fallen off, and during the growth process, they had transformed into the most elite appearance. When he saw this scene, Lin Yuan knew that the pure spirit qi had caused the 100 questions beast's genetic model to evolve. From this, Lin Yuan could see how sensitive Feys like the 100 questions beasts were to pure spirit qi. The 50 questions beasts also noticed the changes in their bodies. They meowed a few times and bowed forward. Afterward, their bodies sprawled on the ground. Lin Yuan knew that this was the 100 questions beasts, as feline Feys, expressing their loyalty and closeness. Upon seeing the situation, Lin Yuan said to these 100 questions beasts, "After I buy all of you, we will be one big family. After I buy all of you, we'll be one big family. I will enhance all of you and increase your grade and quality. Genius will also impart knowledge to you." End of this chapter. Chapter 1005. In a while, I will build a giant cat tree in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone for all of you. You can rest on the cat tree. If you are hungry, go and eat the soldier rations over there. The 100 questions beasts didn't expect that they would be able to live in such an environment in the future. Thank you. We will learn from Teacher Genius in the future. I hope to be able to help you one day. When Genius heard the 100 questions beasts addressing it as teacher, it quickly replied, "You just have to learn from me. As long as you learn knowledge from me, Teacher Tsongming will let Lin Yuan bring delicious red braised pork for you every day. Teacher Genius will also concoct spirit fluids to allow all of you to quickly evolve." Lin Yuan had already discussed with Genius about nurturing these 50 questions beasts. He would first upgrade the 100 questions beasts to bronze X/legend before asking Genius to continuously upgrade the 100 questions beasts grades. Finally, they would be upgraded to diamond X/legend. These 100 questions beasts would be able to comprehend willpower runes from heaven and earth freely. During the process of enhancing these 100 questions beasts, Lin Yuan wanted to see the spiritual energy upgrade potential of the 100 questions beasts. He wanted to see if these 100 questions beasts could be like Genius and use their spiritual energy to perform the work of a creation master. With that thought, Lin Yuan immediately took action. Lin Yuan picked a 100 questions beast that was entirely orange in color and prepared to enhance this fat orange first. Genius was already preparing to concoct the spirit fluid from bronze to diamond for the fat orange. Lin Yuan circulated his spiritual power and injected it into the fat orange's body to be nourished by the spiritual power. This normal fat orange's body immediately emitted a faint luster after its genetic model had been upgraded. Fat orange's quality and rank continued to increase. After reaching the bronze rank, Lin Yuan chose an exclusive skill called mental strengthening for this fat orange. Strong Spirit was an exclusive skill that allowed Fatty Orange to sacrifice his vitality when his mental strength was insufficient. It was a method to use vitality to replenish its spiritual energy. If the Fat Orange could use its spiritual energy to concoct spirit fluids in the future, then this exclusive skill would be very useful. After enhancing the Fat Orange to bronze I/normal, Lin Yuan realized that its spiritual energy was dozens of times stronger than before. This discovery immediately made Lin Yuan reveal a delighted expression. From this, it could be seen that the 100 questions beast, a species that had always been limited by the concentration of spirit energy and had never been able to become a spiritual creature, had a great talent in the spiritual level. Then, he settled down and continued to help Fat Orange improve its quality. If he wanted to enhance a bronze/legend Fey in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, he would only need over 2 hours. It was no longer a difficult task. After the Fat Orange reached legend, Lin Yuan found that it suddenly sank in his hand. If Genius's body kept shrinking during the evolution process, in that case, this Fat Orange would grow horizontally without changing its length, becoming heavier and heavier. It really lived up to the famous saying among ordinary people, the big orange is the heaviest. As long as a white question beast like the orange cat was chosen to be raised, it would not be a problem. These orange cat 100 questions beasts would eventually become as fat as a ball. Lin Yuan quickly placed the heavy fatty orange on the ground. Fat Orange looked at Lin Yuan with tears in his eyes and felt that this human was simply too good. Fat Orange wanted to take a few steps forward and rub his cheek against Lin Yuan's finger to express intimacy. Fatty Orange's buttocks sank to the ground. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan could not help but hold his forehead. It seemed that this Fat Orange was too fat to walk. Genius walked to Fatty Orange's side and used its mental power to materialize 2 palms. He raised the bottle to Fatty Jew. Drink this bottle of green liquid first, then drink this bottle of purple liquid. Then, you'll be able to upgrade to platinum level 10. I need 3 hours to concoct the spirit liquid to upgrade it to diamond grade. I'll give it to you later. Upon hearing that, Fatty Orange raised his little paw with great effort. He wanted to take the spiritual liquid that Genius's spiritual power materialized palm had passed to him. Seeing how Fatty Orange was struggling, Genius placed the spiritual fluid by Fatty Orange's mouth. Fatty Orange could gulp it down in 1 gulp. After Fatty Orange drank the spiritual fluid, Genius used its skill, Interconnected Tail, to transmit knowledge to Fatty Orange based on his mental strength. When Fatty Orange advanced to Platinum X/Legend, his body remained the same size, and his weight didn't change either. However, the color of Fatty Orange's fur had become even more vibrant. It looked like the sunset glow that reflected the last trace of sunlight in the sky. After Fatty Orange advanced to Platinum X/Legend, Lin Yuan suddenly felt an invisible hand on his hand. It was gently holding his hand as though it was expressing something. Lin Yuan lowered his head and saw that it was an orange palm that was materialized with spiritual energy. Lin Yuan immediately looked at Fatty Orange with pleasant surprise and wanted to shout in his heart. His guess back then had actually come true. Based on the strength of this materialized palm, Lin Yuan could feel that the Platinum X/Legend Fatty Orange's spiritual energy was even stronger than the Silver I/Fantasy I Genius. It also meant that after Genius imparted knowledge to Fatty Orange's creation master ability would likely surpass Genius after a short period of practice. It could be said that Fatty Orange was now a capable general in Lin Yuan's 100 Questions Beast Creation Master Legion. Lin Yuan was previously afraid that Genius would have a hard time concocting the spiritual fluid for these 100 Questions Beasts. With the help of Genius's eldest disciple, Fatty Orange, it would soon be able to nurture the third 100 Questions Beast. This way, the 100 Questions Beast Creation Master Legion's numbers would constantly increase. It would also be easier to cultivate other 100 Questions Beasts. Looking at the 100 Questions Beasts in front of him, Lin Yuan felt that these 100 Questions Beasts with Creation Master abilities were already on the same level as the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Don't tell anyone. Because of this attempt, Lin Yuan had imperceptibly changed the structure of the Creation Master occupation. Just as Lin Yuan's thoughts were churning and he was extremely excited, his phone rang. He picked it up and realized that it was Long Tao who had called him. Lin Yuan picked up the phone and heard Long Tao ask in a very certain tone. "Yuan, you and Black are the same person, right?" A few nights ago, Long Tao found Lu Jie and tried to calm the storm. As a result, Lu Jie sent a message saying that Black and Lin Yuan were having dinner at the same table. Long Tao was stunned when he saw Lu Jie's message. When he thought of the familiarity that Lin Yuan and Black gave him, Long Tao felt that he had fallen into a misconception. Thus, after thinking about it, Long Tao decided to ask if Lin Yuan and Black were the same person before getting down to business. The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 1006. When Lin Yuan heard Long Tao calling him to ask such a question, he couldn't help but raise his brows and ask subconsciously. Why would Brother Long ask that? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Tao suddenly realized that he had misspoken. He knew that Lin Yuan had been accepted as a disciple by the Moon Empress in the Radiant Moon Palace. The identity of the Moon Empress disciple represented infinite honor, but if Lin Yuan used the identity of the Moon Empress disciple to go out, it would indeed be somewhat inconvenient. Thus, for convenience's sake, he was likely to go out with another identity. His question was a little abrupt. If Lin Yuan was Black, then his question was tantamount to probing Lin Yuan's secret. If Lin Yuan was not Black, many of the younger generation of veteran factions and top factions would have been unhappy with Black's fans on Star Web a few days ago. Lin Yuan had also received a lot of counterattacks from Hate's fans. Now that he mentioned Black in front of Lin Yuan, it was very likely that he would draw Black's hatred. Long Tao was just about to change the topic when he heard Lin Yuan's words. Brother Dragon is right, I am Black. I've been using Black's identity to meet Brother Dragon, but I've never revealed my identity. I hope Brother Dragon won't be offended. When Long Tao, who was on the other end of the line, heard Lin Yuan's words, his usually stern face immediately revealed a smile. Lin Yuan's words gave Long Tao the answer in his heart. It made Long Tao realize why Black looked so familiar when he looked at him. Lin Yuan and Black were the same person. At the same time, Long Tao was also very happy that Lin Yuan did not hide it from him. This meant that Lin Yuan did not treat himself as an outsider. Long Tao said as he remembered the business of his call this time. Lin Yuan, you should know about the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift mentioned at the Nyx Assembly, right? The Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift connects to the Abyss world and has massive resources. Furthermore, the Radiance Federation's resources in the main world are already fixed. In the future, the major forces will definitely focus on developing the Abyssal world. Many forces have decided to build a base camp in the Abyss world. I wonder if you have any plans to develop the Abyss world. Upon hearing Long Tao's words, Lin Yuan frowned slightly. Speaking of the Abyss world, Lin Yuan naturally wanted to develop it. After all, the Abyss world was also a dimensional world like the Swamp world. Through Morbius' exclusive skill, Klein Hub, he had already opened up the Swamp world. To Lin Yuan, the Swamp world was a state with 1,000 things waiting to be done. he still did not have enough manpower to develop the swamp world. Therefore, he really did not have the energy and manpower to develop the abyss after developing the swamp world. Moreover, after the underground space was built, he still had to embark on a journey to the Divine Wood Federation. Since Long Tao asked, Lin Yuan answered truthfully. Brother Dragon, the abyss world is indeed very attractive to me, but I really don't have the manpower to develop the abyss world. As he spoke, Lin Yuan's tone could not help but be tainted with a hint of regret. When Long Tao heard Lin Yuan's words, his face immediately revealed a hint of joy. According to Lin Yuan's words, Long Tao knew that Lin Yuan wanted to open up the abyss world. However, because he did not have enough manpower, Lin Yuan had given up on developing the abyss world. Long Tao hurriedly expressed his thoughts. Li Xian and I have an idea. We'll leave our families and form a force in our own names to explore resources in the abyss. It's just that after Li Xian and I left the clan, the resources we have are limited. At most, we can guarantee that we have enough manpower. I don't have any good ideas for other aspects of supplies and creation master resources for now. Therefore, I wanted to ask you if you're interested in forming a faction together to develop and expand in the abyss world. Upon hearing Long Tao's words, Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and pondered carefully. It seemed that he could indeed explore and develop the abyss world by cooperating with Long Tao and Li Xian according to Long Tao's ideas. Long Tao and Li Xian would organize the manpower and invest the supplies and creation master resources himself. By relying on the spirit lock spatial zone and his own ability, he was no longer the same as before in terms of creating resources. Therefore, Lin Yuan was very confident that he could pour in supplies and creation master resources for Long Tao and Li Xian. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of an idea. Brother Dragon, your idea is good, but the three of us forming a faction to explore and develop the abyss world is still a little small. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Tao was stunned. Long Tao didn't quite understand what Lin Yuan meant by small skirmishes. This was still small? Just the force formed by him and Li Xian, two core disciples of top forces, was already much stronger than those veteran forces. If Lin Yuan, His Holiness disciple, joined them, even some top factions would not be able to compare to their newly established faction. Just as Long Tao was feeling puzzled, Lin Yuan said, since Brother Long wants to explore the abyss world through cooperation, why don't we call Gao Feng, Sun Ningxiang, and the young palace master of Yiyang Palace? I'll ask Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang later. If it's possible, we might as well establish a force to explore the abyss. When Long Tao heard Lin Yuan's words, he was shocked and opened his mouth wide. He didn't know what to say. It had already been 2 days since he and Li Xian had this idea. After hesitating for 2 days, Long Tao wondered if he should ask Lin Yuan. Long Tao and Lin Yuan had already become good friends and had worked together before. However, Long Tao was still afraid that his actions would offend Lin Yuan when they were establishing a faction together. It made Lin Yuan think that he wanted to use Lin Yuan's influence and identity to develop his faction. In the end, not only did Lin Yuan not think that way, but he also helped him spread his stall even bigger. What kind of people did Lin Yuan bring in? The top faction, Du Immortal Garden, was indeed a little weak, but it was still a top faction. Sun Ningxiang's identity was different from his. He was just the young family master of Coiling Dragon Valley. Sun Ningxiang was in charge of the entire Du Immortal Garden. Pulling Sun Ningxiang over was equivalent to pulling over a top faction. The remaining few were all His Holiness disciples. His Holiness Gao Feng Chanming's disciple. Lu Jia, Chief Guard Ye's disciple. Chef Supreme Master Zhong Zhe's disciple. Gu Lang Zhu Jun's disciple. If such a lineup was put together to establish a faction, Long Tao didn't dare to imagine how much influence this faction would have. According to Lin Yuan's proposal, he would also become a part of this faction. Long Tao, who had always been good at yin and yang qi and had a sharp tongue, began to stutter. Is this idea feasible? Chapter 1007. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied straightforwardly. Anyway, the few of us have already added the chat software on our phones during the Nix assembly. Why don't I create a small group with the chat software on my phone? We can discuss it directly in the group. Long Tao originally thought that Lin Yuan was just having an idea and had mentioned it. He didn't expect Lin Yuan to have such strong motivation. He actually decided to do it immediately. Long Tao said excitedly. Alright, let's talk about it in the group chat later. After hanging up, he called Lu Jia. During this period, Lu Jia had been running to the land of spirit suppression and using the insect queen to control the insect-type tumor Fei to increase the sacred source lifeform star rank. Lu Jia was currently in the land of soul suppression. Since this matter involved Lu Jia, he intended to ask for his opinion in advance and send a message to him. The phone rang a few times, but Lu Jia did not answer. Just as Lin Yuan was about to hang up, he heard a cold female voice coming from the other end of the line. Little Yuan, Lu Jia is using the insect queen to control an insect species carcinoma Fei called the hibernating dung beetle. The hibernating dung beetle's combat awareness is relatively strong. The insect queen will need at least 2 more hours to completely subdue the hibernating dung beetle. If there's anything you need to solve, you can tell me directly. Or, you can wait for the insect queen to finish controlling the heart-stinging dung beetle, and I'll help you pass on a message. Upon hearing the voice on the other end of the phone, Lin Yuan did not react for a moment. However, he immediately knew that the person talking to him was the chief guard of the spirit guards, Night Leaning Moon. Lin Yuan said hurriedly. Greetings, Chief Guard Yi. I don't have anything urgent on my side. I just plan to establish a force with a few friends to jointly develop and explore the Abyss world. I wanted to ask Brother Lu for his opinion. Night Leaning Moon was a little surprised by Lin Yuan's words. Night Leaning Moon remembered that Lu Jia was Lin Yuan's retainer knight, so Lin Yuan could help Lu Jia decide such things. There was no need to ask for Lu Jia's opinion. When Night Leaning Moon first accepted Lu Jia as her disciple, she didn't think much of it. However, after serving as Lu Jia's master for more than 2 months, Night Leaning Moon's relationship with Lu Jia had deepened. Night Leaning Moon was really afraid that Lu Jia would be wronged. But now, with Lin Yuan's call, Night Leaning Moon's worries completely disappeared. The fact that Lin Yuan would take the initiative to ask for Lu Jia's opinion on such a matter showed his respect for Lu Jia. This showed that Lin Yuan did not regard Lu Jia as a retainer knight at all but a true partner. Night Leaning Moon thought about how her silly disciple would always place his hand on the Class 2 Creation Master's retainer crest on his chest. If Night Leaning Moon didn't know that Lu Jia was touching her faith, she would have thought that her disciple was a narcissistic man with his hands on his chest. In short, Night Leaning Moon felt that it was impossible for her disciple to refuse Lin Yuan's proposal. Night Leaning Moon was now constantly using resources to help Lu Jia improve his strength. She wanted him to become one of the 5 Radiance Envoys in 3 years. In order to become a Radiance Envoy, apart from strength, influence was also very important. Therefore, Night Leaning Moon hoped from the bottom of her heart that Lu Jia could join this faction that was jointly built by many friends. Little Yuan, you don't have to call me Chief Guard Yi in the future. My name is Night Leaning Moon, just call me Aunt Yu Yi. I'll ask Lu Jia to call you back when he wakes up. Lin Yuan called out to Auntie Yu and hung up the phone. He only knew that the spirit guard's chief guard's surname was Yi, but he didn't expect her name to be Night Leaning Moon. Wasn't Leaning Moon the same as the Leaning Moon Mountain where his master, the Moon Empress, lived? Lin Yuan felt that the 2 words, Leaning Moon, were full of meaning. While Lu Jia was busy using the insect queen to control the hibernating dung beetle, Lin Yuan decided to take Lu Jia's place for the discussion. Even if Lu Jia joined the discussion, he would not be the one to provide manpower. He would be the one to provide resources. Lu Jia was a member of Sky City and also Lin Yuan's retainer knight. Ultimately, Lin Yuan had to provide Lu Jia's share of resources. Lin Yuan took the cell phone and opened the chat software. He found Gao Feng, Zhongzhe, Gu Lang, Sun Ningxiang, Zhongzhe, Li Xian, and created a group and added the 6 of them. After pulling everyone in, Lin Yuan sent a message. Lin Yuan, Long Tao and Li Xian have an idea that I think is good. If everyone has time, why don't we discuss it together? At all members. After Lin Yuan sent the message, Long Tao and Li Xian quickly replied. Long Tao, that's right. This Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift can connect to the Abyss World. Is everyone interested in developing the Abyss World together? Li Xian, who was on the other end of the phone, wanted to type, but before his hand could press the send button, a video chat popped up in the group. Li Xian quickly deleted his long message and clicked into the video chat. Lin Yuan raised his brows when he saw the video chat window on his cell phone. The person who initiated the video chat was actually the cursed Zhongzhe. After entering the chat, Lin Yuan realized that everyone, including Sun Ningxiang, had entered the group chat. Lin Yuan's cell phone screen turned into 9 squares, and 8 of the squares had a shaking head. Among them, Gao Feng had already fallen asleep. At this moment, Gao Feng was rubbing his sleepy eyes with a head full of a hogue. Lin Yuan was the first to speak. The Yeyang Palace's young palatial lord is busy, so I will take over the discussion. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang were stunned. Even Gao Feng, Gu Lang, and Zhongzhe were stunned. After becoming His Holiness Cicada Cry's disciple, Gao Feng had been pulled by His Holiness Cicada Cry for some in-depth guidance. After some guidance, Gao Feng understood the power and responsibility of being His Holiness Cicada Cry's disciple. He did not expect Lu Jie to allow Lin Yuan to make the decision on his behalf. From this, it could be seen how good Lin Yuan and Lu Jie's relationship was. Lin Yuan first let Long Tao and Li Xian talk about the idea. After Long Tao and Li Xian finished talking about the idea of developing the Abyss World, Zhongzhe, who had been silent, spoke. This idea is good, but I can't produce ordinary people who can mine the Abyss World's resources, and I don't have such people around me. However, if we establish a faction, I can produce 5 Emperor-class experts and 1 Emperor-class expert. I don't know if my investment can account for 15% of the faction's shares. Zhongzhe's words immediately made Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang overjoyed. Chapter 1008. It was an irresistible temptation for Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang to establish a faction with His Majesty's disciple. Now that Lin Yuan had created an opportunity, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang naturally had to do their best to grasp the opportunity. Zhongzhe's words had already indicated that he agreed to establish a faction with them. However, Zhongzhe had taken out 5 Emperor-class experts and 1 the Arch-expert and actually wanted to occupy 15% of the shares. Zhongzhe definitely wouldn't say 15% of the shares casually. This was likely Zhongzhe's condition and test. Zhongzhe already had expectations for the stall. If they couldn't meet Zhongzhe's expectations, Zhongzhe would likely lose interest. However, it was truly difficult for Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang to take out manpower and resources equivalent to the value of 5 Emperor-class experts and 1 the Arch-expert to develop the Abyss World. Gritting their teeth, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang respectively stated the chips they could invest and the shares they wanted. Sun Ningxiang said, "The Abyss World can't produce the daily necessities. I can be fully responsible for providing the entire faction's consumption in the Abyss World. It's just that I really can't take out the high-end combat power on hand. My Do Medical has been closed for the past few years, and more than half of the Do Medical's manpower is still in the Sun family. Close to 100,000 people generally have phase at gold and above. I can put all of these people into the exploration of the swamp world. I choose 10% of the shares." Long Tao said, "I can send internal affairs personnel to take on all aspects of the Abyss World's management responsibilities. At the same time, I will take out 3 Emperor-class experts and invest 200 creation masters below Class 3 to take on the responsibility of healing phase with damaged roots. I choose 10% of the shares." Li Xian said, "I can take out 2 Emperor-class experts, 50,000 people, and 200 Class 2 to Class 3 spirit craftsmen. I choose 10% of the shares." Sun Ningxiang, Li Xian, and Long Tao's statements had basically completed the replenishment of manpower for the Abyss World's development. The three of them had gathered 150,000 people, 200 creation masters below Class 3, 200 Class 2 to Class 3 spirit craftsmen, and daily expenses and management work. They only occupied 35% of the shares. Adding up all these complicated things, the three of them taking 35% of the shares was slightly higher than the 15% that Zhongzhe had sent out for 5 Emperor Stage powerhouses and 1 Great Emperor Stage powerhouse. This also showed the sincerity of Sun Ningxiang, Long Tao, and Li Xian in establishing a force together. Although the resources that Sun Ningxiang, Long Tao, and Li Xian took out were higher than Zhongzhe's, the resources that Sun Ningxiang, Long Tao, and Li Xian offered were higher than Zhongzhe's. However, he, who had explored the swamp world, knew how dangerous the dimensional worlds were. The abyss world was the same as the swamp world, it had apostles. Therefore, if they wanted to continue exploring the abyss world, they needed an emperor-level powerhouse to oversee it. Otherwise, if an apostle or a level 11-dimensional creature appeared, it was very likely that the entire faction would be uprooted by the abyssal demons in the abyss. Seeing that 4 people had already expressed their opinions, Gao Feng said excitedly. The 4 of you have taken up 45% of the resources, so let the 4 of us split the other 55%. For the past few days, Gao Feng felt like he was in a dream. He had become Cicada Cry's disciple by chance because of Lu Jie. His father's attitude toward him had also undergone an earth-shattering change. In the past, Gao Feng did not dare to imagine that he would one day be able to eat his father's food. After becoming Cicada Cry's disciple and receiving his teachings, Gao Feng knew that he was destined to have no fate with the Radiance Envoy with his ability. Gao Feng had never thought about the position of the Radiance Envoy. However, Cicada Cry had set a goal for Gao Feng to become one of the 10 members of the Radiant Light Knights. This added a lot of pressure to Gao Feng. At the same time, Gao Feng also understood the importance of a faction's development for an expert. Gao Feng originally wanted to put his energy on the emerging faction established with Lin Yuan, but it now seemed that the opportunity in front of him was more beneficial to him. It was just that Gao Feng was one echelon lower than Long Tao and Sun Ningxiang among the top factions. Therefore, Gao Feng did not have many resources. Gao Feng decided to have a good talk with his father when he returned home to see if he could get some resources and manpower to invest in the exploration of the abyss world. Gao Feng felt that his father, Gao Pei, would not refuse such an opportunity. Gao Feng said, "I will provide 3 Emperor-class experts and 50,000 men. As for spirit craftsmen and creation masters, I really can't provide them. 3 Emperor realm experts, 50,000 people, and 10% of the shares should be enough, right?" Lin Yuan replied. Of course. After Gao Feng expressed his stance, Gu Lang looked at Zhongzhe curiously in the video window. Strange, with Zhongzhe's temper, why would he participate in something like establishing a faction? Wasn't Zhongzhe, this battle maniac, never interested in the development of his forces? Although it was strange, Gu Lang did not stop talking. I will do the same as Zhongzhe. 5 Emperor-class experts and 1 Emperor-class expert will take 15% of the shares. After that, Gu Lang continued after a moment of silence. Our basic manpower and powerhouses are in place. It's not a problem for 202-star to 3-star spirit craftsmen to build simple infrastructure in the abyss. But we only have 200 creation masters that are below Class 3. We don't have any high-class creation masters. It won't be easy to explore the abyss without high-class creation master resources. Gu Lang did not say how difficult it was. However, Gu Lang knew that everyone present understood it very well. Without high-class creation masters, king-class, emperor-class, and emperor-class experts, no one could heal the phase roots. Moreover, it was impossible to guarantee that the various rare fire element spiritual ingredients produced in the abyss would be ripe when found. Therefore, pure fire element energy was needed as a supplement. Some rare spiritual ingredients even required heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. For the abyss world's developers, if they comprehended willpower runes or their main phase died in battle, they would also need high-quality bronze phase for support and compensation. Gu Lang felt that excluding those precious resources, he would need at least 40 to 50 Class 3 Creation Masters to barely be able to bear these requirements. Just as everyone fell into silence, Lin Yuan said, "High-class Creation Master resources aren't a problem. High-class Creation Master resources aren't a problem. I can resolve it. Since there are only 30% of the shares left, then I and the young palace master of Yiyang Palace will take all of them. The young palace lord and I will use high-class Creation Master resources to increase the 30% of the shares." Chapter 1009. Gu Lang's words caused Zhong Zhe, Long Tao, Sun Ningxiang, Gao Feng, and Li Xian to ponder. At first, it was just Long Tao and Li Xian's idea. Long Tao and Li Xian didn't expect their business to be so big at first. Originally, Long Tao and Li Xian wanted to rope Lin Yuan in because they didn't have enough Creation Master resources. Long Tao and Li Xian wanted to establish their own forces instead of relying on their own family's forces. Therefore, Long Tao and Li Xian could only occasionally borrow the resources of their own forces. If they were to use a large number of their faction's Creation Master's resources, it wouldn't make sense. As Class 5 Creation Master disciples, Gu Lang and Zhong Zhe were able to provide high-ranked Creation Master resources. However, it was far from enough to support a force with 2 Emperor-level powerhouses and more than 10 Emperor-level powerhouses. After all, Gu Lang and Zhong Zhe didn't have a large number of Class 3 or 4 Creation Masters that they could deploy. Even if there was, it would belong to Supreme Chef and Bamboo Monarch. Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang wanted to establish a force with their own identities. It was also impossible for him to directly use the Creation Master resources that his master possessed. Not to mention Sun Ningxiang. After Sun Ningxiang's grandmother killed the 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters, the Du Immortal Garden's Creation Master resources were immediately depleted. Right now, there were only a few Class 3 Creation Masters. The high-class Creation Masters relied on their cooperation with Lin Yuan to barely maintain the operation of the Du Immortal Garden. Although Gao Feng had become the disciple of His Highness Cicada Cry, the Gao family was still at the bottom of the top forces. The Gao family had been developing the deep-sea resources, causing the Gao family's Creation Master resources to be in short supply. Gao Feng felt that after becoming the disciple of Her Holiness, if he wanted to discuss this with his father, Gao Pei, it would be impossible. It was very likely that Gao Pei would transfer a large number of Creation Master resources from the clan for his use. However, this would definitely worsen the Gao family's Creation Master's shortage of resources. Gao Feng wanted to build a force with his brothers, but he didn't want to ruin his own family. Therefore, the problem that Gu Lang mentioned just now could be said to be a difficult problem that everyone needed to face together. While everyone was racking their brains, Lin Yuan, who had yet to state his conditions, solved everyone's problem. He would use 30% of the shares to fill in the high-class Creation Master resources that the entire faction required. Before the others could say anything, Zhong Zhe had already taken the initiative to speak. "Lin Yuan, isn't it a little too much for you to take out so many high-class Creation Master resources alone? If you are reluctant, I can take out 30 Class 3 Creation Masters to help you fill the gap of high-class Creation Masters." Gu Lang had originally been surprised by Zhong Zhe's abnormal passion for building his faction and initiating a group video chat. When Zhong Zhe said this, Gu Lang's emotions were no longer as simple as surprise. Gu Lang only felt that the Zhong Zhe who was speaking now was either fake or he was being controlled. Zhong Zhe might not be keen on building a faction for the past few years, but he had also organized a Creation Master Society. Zhong Zhe had probably taken out more than half of the Creation Master resources from the Creation Master Association. Wasn't this investment a little too big? Upon hearing Zhong Zhe's words, Lin Yuan hurriedly replied. "Zhong Zhe, I don't need your help. I'm not forcing you. When the faction is officially established and the abyss is explored, all the high-class Creation Master resources will be in place. However, the Creation Masters in my hands cannot enter the abyss, but I will order people to deliver a batch of elixirs that are concocted by the Creation Masters every day. As for resources like the Fire Attribute Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls and Bronze/Epic Phase, I will also send people to deliver them according to the faction's development needs. While speaking, Lin Yuan started to calculate in his mind. He now had a total of 50 questions beasts in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, and they were all taught by Genius. If Genius wanted to train all 50 questions beasts, it would take at least half a month. During the concoction process, the 100 questions beasts could only use their spiritual energy and not soul power. As a result, the 100 questions beasts were currently stuck at the pinnacle of Class 3 Creation Masters. Only when the 100 questions beasts grasped the usage of soul power would they be able to reach the standard of a Class 4 Creation Master. Even Genius couldn't grasp the trick to using soul power. It could be said that the usage of soul power was something that Genius and Lin Yuan had to research together in the future. However, the spirit fluid concocted by a pinnacle Class 3 Creation Master was enough to evolve a normal Fae to the pinnacle of Diamond. It would also help Gold and above Faes to evolve to Legend. With these 100 questions beasts, which were equivalent to pinnacle Class 3 Creation Masters, complementing Lin Yuan, it was the same as saying that Lin Yuan no longer had any shortcomings as a Creation Master. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, Zhongzhe did not insist on adding another 30 Class 3 Creation Masters. He just stared at Lin Yuan in the video for a long time and said, "If a high-class Creation Master encounters a problem with the resources, you can tell me directly." Lin Yuan smiled and shook his head. After guiding the first batch of 100 questions beasts, Genius could totally focus on guiding the second batch of 100 questions beasts. With the first batch of 100 questions beasts that obtained pinnacle Class 3 Creation Master abilities, it would be much easier for Genius to nurture the second batch of 100 questions beasts. Therefore, it was not possible for him to lack high-class Creation Master resources. After a short discussion, the matter was settled. After settling down, Zhongzhe spoke again. Lin Yuan is providing all the high-class Creation Master resources, but he only holds 30% of the shares. Speaking of which, he is contributing more than each of us. I suggest that Lin Yuan obtain the priority to choose the resources produced in the abyss. Lin Yuan will get to choose 30% of the resources produced each time. We will distribute the remaining 70% equally according to the shares. Naturally, no one would object to Zhongzhe's words. Long Tao, Li Xian, Sun Ningxiang, and Gao Feng were already extremely grateful to Lin Yuan. Without Lin Yuan, it would have been impossible to facilitate such a cooperation opportunity. Gu Lang was currently sizing up Lin Yuan and Zhongzhe with suspicion. Gu Lang had known Zhongzhe for more than a decade, but he had never seen Zhongzhe speak so much for someone else's benefit. Since the people in the group chat had formed a force together, the relationship between them had changed from friends to partners. Gu Lang didn't care too much when he spoke. "Zhongzhe, when will you return to the Kitchen Incense Palace?" Zhongzhe said. "In 2 days, Master, and I will leave the Purple Bamboo Forest. After leaving the Purple Bamboo Garden, Master will bring me to a Class 5 Abyss Dimensional Rift to collect a newly discovered Class 5 Heavenly Flame. It will be 10 days before we return to the Kitchen Fragrance Palace." Hearing Zhongzhe's words, Gu Lang laughed. The first one was even worse. End of chapter. Chapter 10:10. Previously, you still owe me 300 plates. Although the Night End Palace's young palace lord isn't here today, I'm fully in charge. But in the end, the 8 of us have formed a faction together. Why don't you set up 300 plates after you come back? The 7 of us won't go to Kitchen Fragrance Palace but find a place outside to have a good gathering. When Zhongzhe heard Gu Lang's words, he frowned slightly and subconsciously wanted to refuse. However, when Zhongzhe saw Lin Yuan's tempted gaze, he swallowed the words of rejection that were at the tip of his tongue. "All right, then come to my courtyard house in the royal capital's West Park." Seeing that Zhongzhe agreed readily, Gu Lang laughed heartily and said, "Then you set up 300 plates. Then you set up 300 plates and I'll bring a few jars of purple bamboo wine. We'll have a good meal with good wine and dishes." Through Lin Yuan's discussion group, everyone quickly became familiar with each other. As a result, they chatted for more than half an hour. When they were almost done, Lin Yuan ended the video call. It could be said that one of Lin Yuan's concerns had finally disappeared. Now, Lin Yuan could develop the Swamp World's resources and obtain the Abyss World's resources without any trouble. Lin Yuan looked at the time and realized that there was still a while before the appointed time with Listen and Hu Quan. Lin Yuan picked a snake fey that was the most sensitive to spirit chi from the various snake feys he had purchased. It was called the Lazarite snake. Lin Yuan used his palm to inject rich and pure spirit chi into the Lazarite snake's body. As expected, under the effect of the spirit chi, the Lazarite snake's body underwent a drastic change. The Lazarite snake's normal-sized scales kept becoming finer and finer under the wash of spirit chi. It was so fine that Lin Yuan could no longer see the snake scales on the Lazarite snake's body with the naked eye. The finer scales were undoubtedly much stronger than the larger scales, allowing the Lazarite snake to become more agile. This was because these snake feys were nurtured for Wendy. Therefore, Lin Yuan had always insisted on picking exclusive skills that could increase the toxicity of these snake feys. Some of the other exclusive skills were indeed very strong, but they did not have any bonus to Wendy. When Lin Yuan upgraded this Lazarite snake to bronze grade, the original mix of green and gold on the snake's body suddenly separated. The scales turned into a fine gold color, and all the green on the snake's body gathered in the snake's pupils. It made the entire snake's appearance look even more magnificent and noble. With true data, Lin Yuan realized that the bronze green-gold snake had changed its name to the green-eyed golden-scaled snake. After enhancing the green-eyed golden-scaled snake, Lin Yuan tried to sense its venom. He discovered that the green-eyed golden-scaled snake's venom had changed from the original neurotoxin to a cursed poison that could affect the mind and soul at the same time. The cursed nature of this poison could make solid calcified materials lose their activity and become dry and cracked. He felt that the curse effect of turning the calcified material dry and cracked could be seen as an armor-piercing ability. In other words, the body that was infected by the green-eyed golden-scaled snake's venom would have calcified armor and even its bones would become loose and cracked. This toxicity was extremely effective against the dimensional creatures in the swamp world who used their bodies as combat weapons. If Wendy turned the green-eyed golden-scaled snake into her own hair, she would be able to master this poison. The poison with the curse effect combined with Wendy's petrifying gaze could petrify the calcified material on the target's body. It had the effect of dealing double damage. This ability could also better assist Lizard Ting in fighting other dimensional creatures. Lin Yuan stored the green-eyed golden-scaled snake with satisfaction and left the Spirit Lock spatial zone. At that moment, 35 spirit craftsmen were standing outside the manor and looking at Hu Quan with excitement. Hu Quan looked at the 35 spirit craftsmen in front of him and said solemnly, "You 35 brats are quite lucky to be chosen by the city lord. I will also focus on teaching the 35 of you in the future. After you follow the city lord into seclusion, you must put in all your effort. If you dare to slack off, this old man and the city lord will not let you off lightly." While Hu Quan was speaking, Lin Yuan had already walked out of the mansion. When Hu Quan saw Lin Yuan, he hurriedly said, "That's right. Young master, although there are no Class 4 spirit craftsmen among these 35 brats, 5 of them have reached the standard of a Class 3 spirit craftsman. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to break through in a week or two. If I'm unlucky, I'll become a Class 4 spirit craftsman by the end of this year. Young master, do you want to choose a manager among these 5 pinnacle Class 3 spirit craftsmen? At that time, I'll let this manager unify the entire spirit craftsman group and make it easier to assign tasks." When Lin Yuan heard Hu Quan's words, he looked at the 5 pinnacle Class 3 spirit craftsmen standing in the front row. Everyone had their own specialization, and Lin Yuan did not have much research on spirit craftsmen. Therefore, Lin Yuan could not tell who was better among the 5 pinnacle Class 3 spirit craftsmen. Lin Yuan asked the 5 pinnacle Class 3 spirit craftsmen, "Are there any of you 5 who would like to recommend yourself? Those who feel that they can lead this team of 35 spirit craftsmen will take a step forward. Do you think that you can lead this team of 35 spirit craftsmen to take a step forward?" One of the spirit craftsmen hurriedly took a step forward and said, "City Lord, I would like to recommend myself. City Lord, I would like to recommend myself." I am confident that I can lead this spirit craftsman team well. Lin Yuan looked at the spirit craftsman who had taken a step forward and suddenly felt that the person in front of him was somewhat familiar. Then, Lin Yuan recalled that when he had ridden black to check the underground space's construction, it was this spirit craftsman who had received him. When the other spirit craftsmen saw him, they had turned their heads woodenly and only worked quietly. From this, it could be seen that this spirit craftsman who had recommended himself was better at communicating than the other spirit craftsman. Lin Yuan remembered that this spirit craftsman had mentioned his name when he had bid farewell to him before he had left. From this, Lin Yuan could see this spirit craftsman's ambition. Lin Yuan was not afraid of his subordinate's ambition, as only ambitious people would work harder. Lin Yuan had always been willing to give people who wanted to take the initiative to change their fate. I remember you. You're Lu Tong. Since you're so confident, then you'll lead this team of 35 spirit craftsmen from now on. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had chosen Lu Tong, Hu Quan nodded in satisfaction and did not object. Lu Tong's diligence had left a good impression on Hu Quan. In addition, Lu Tong would often look for opportunities to chat with Hu Quan. This made Lu Tong one of the few spirit craftsmen in the Heavenly Craft Pavilion that Hu Quan could name. Now that Hu Quan saw that Lin Yuan valued Lu Tong so much, he said, "Little brat, you have to grasp the opportunity. Little brat, you must grasp this opportunity to gain the city lord's appreciation. Do well. If you do well, I'll consider taking you in as a personal disciple." The second was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 10-12. When the young girl saw the old man kneeling on one knee, she hurriedly placed the azure-clouded leopard, Lonely, who was in his mimicry state, on the ground. Then, he quickly ran toward the old man. The young girl's skirt brushed against the blue wind chimes, sending blue petals flying. Just when the girl was about to help the old man up, the old man who was kneeling on one knee hurriedly lowered his head and said, "Azure Envoy, you mustn't. Sir, you have a noble status. How can you bend down to help this old servant up so easily?" When the girl heard this, a trace of helplessness flashed in her clear eyes. "Grandpa Butler, in the past, you and I didn't kneel on one knee like this. Even if I become an Azure Envoy, you're still my Grandpa Butler." When the old man heard the girl's words, he lowered his body even more. At the same time, he felt that this girl, whom he had watched grow up, was indescribably unfamiliar. Not long ago, after the girl had recovered her eyes, she had simultaneously awakened the beast marks of the azure-clouded leopard and the spirit speech white lion. He became a dual beast pattern spirit chi professional that had never appeared in the Azure Federation in the past 100 years. Actually, it wasn't like the Azure Federation didn't have any geniuses with dual beast marks. However, none of these double awakened beast marks had awakened the Azure beast mark that represented the Azure Federation. Thus, she was directly appointed as the fourth Azure Envoy of the new generation by the Azure Court. In the old man's heart, the girl in front of him had always been innocent and lively. Their understanding of the world was muddled, and they should be as pure as a fawn. However, a week ago, for some reason, this young lady had insisted on choosing a small island in the Azure Federation's archipelago to establish her own faction. In the end, 3 3-star clans and 2 4-star clans unknowingly participated in the fight for the island that the young girl had her eyes on. While they were in a deadlock, one of the 4-star clans came up with an idea. He wanted to use his connections to take control of the island in the blue territory before the auction. When the girl found out, she immediately flew into a rage. He used a thunderous method to issue an Azure Imperial Order, dealing with the 4-star clan member who had relied on underhanded means to seize the island. For a time, the great families of the Azure Federation were in an uproar under the command of the 4th Azure Envoy. Even now, not to mention the old man in front of them, even the young girl's parents did not know what the young girl was thinking. The old man recalled that he was here to report Lord Xian Sun's request and continued. "Lord Azure Envoy, Lord Sun suggests that you visit Radiance. This time, Lord Sun will be leading 10 of the new Azure 100 sequences younger generation to the Radiance Federation. He wants to arrange a sparring match with the new Radiance 100 sequence members. And the third Azure Envoy has already decided to move out. The third Azure Envoy will assist Lord Sun in handling various matters. You don't have to worry about it. When the woman heard the old man's words, she fell into deep thought and did not immediately agree. Grandpa Butler, please inform Teacher Sun. I'll think about it again. I've already bought that island. Help me assign 10 Class 4 Spirit Craftsmen and 50 Class 3 Spirit Craftsmen to the island for construction. As Lin spoke, she gently rubbed her temples with her fingers. During this period of time, Lin was extremely busy. Only now did she have the chance to look up at the distant Virgo Nebula in her garden. Looking at the Virgo Nebula, Lin felt as if he was looking at the person who made him feel very warm. Even though Lin did not know what that person looked like, she only knew that that person was entangled with hundreds and thousands of laws and willpower. However, the person with hundreds and thousands of rules and willpower energy entwined around him was Lin's longing. Even though Lin had lived in the darkness since she was young, she had touched books so many times that her hands were dripping with blood. Her fingers were Lin's eyes, helping her perceive and understand the world. Lin had read at least 30 to 40 biographies of the Azure Federation's great figures. Therefore, Lin clearly understood that authority would give rise to prestige. Since the authority belonged to her, Lin would use it to complete things that were very important to her. For example, back then, Lin had not hesitated to issue the Azure Imperial Order to get rid of the person in the Class 4 family who broke the rules and take back the island that she had her eyes on. Lin wasn't a bad-tempered person. The only reason she was enraged was because that person from the 4-star family had crossed her bottom line. It was the behavior of the person in the Class 4 family that made Lin unable to complete the task that the person she longed for had arranged for her. Therefore, Lin was angry. Upon hearing Lin's words, the old man quickly replied, Lord Radiance Envoy, don't worry. Lord Radiance Envoy, don't worry. I will do it immediately. I just don't know what direction you want to operate your private faction in. Upon hearing the elder's words, Lin immediately said her thoughts after careful consideration. The Class 6 dimensional rift that the Azure Federation opened is the Water World Dimensional Rift, which is connected to the Water World. It can produce a large number of water-type spiritual ingredients and heavy water, which can be used as one of the directions for the faction's operations in the future. In addition, I have chosen a territory above a huge coral reef. This coral reef has thousands of coral phase as resources. I plan to protect and nurture these coral resources, using rare corals as a function to open up a business path. Upon hearing Lin's words, the elder quickly memorized Lin's words and said, Lord Azure Envoy, don't worry. Don't worry, Azure Envoy. This old servant will do as you say. At this point, the elder suddenly asked, Lord Azure Envoy, don't worry. Lord Azure Envoy, you will soon be able to establish your private force. After the faction is established, do you have any plans to give it a name? Upon hearing the elder's words, Lin looked up at the stars in the sky. She paused for a moment before speaking. Now is not the time to give it a name. Grandpa Butler, you may leave. I want to quietly watch the stars in the garden. The elder respectfully bowed and turned to leave the garden filled with blue wind chimes. Lin gently turned around and picked up the azure-clouded leopard, Lonely, who she had placed on the ground with some grievances. At the thought of being able to meet the person of her dreams tomorrow, Lin revealed a pure smile from the bottom of her heart. Unlike Lin, who was leisurely gazing at the starry sky in the blue windchime garden, the heavily injured Bei Su was leaning against the stone wall. Fresh blood flowed out of Bei Su's body and had already faintly soaked the ground. Beside Bei Su was a sharp shadow bat, which was using its ability to summon a large number of bat shadows to gnaw on a similarly heavily injured azure-clouded leopard. The Class 5 burrowing lizard frog was already powerless to stand up. The burrowing lizard frog was considered a rather powerful existence among Class 5 creatures. Its skin was covered with poison glands. Chapter 10:13. The venom glands could secrete highly alkaline mucus. During combat, the cave lizard frog would dip its long tongue in the mucus and use it as a combat weapon. The burrowing lizard frog's hind legs contained a powerful explosive force, and the burrowing lizard frog's body weighed nearly 2 tons. It was a self-aiming charge bomb. When the Class 5 cave lizard frog hit the target, the alkaline mucus secreted by its venom glands would try its best to wrap the target, achieving a double-killing effect. Bei Su was in such a sorry state, with his body deformed and bleeding all over the ground. Bei Su had encountered a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift. This cave lizard frog was originally a pinnacle Class 4 dimensional life form, but after devouring a few Class 4 earth-drilling mantis, it had successfully advanced to Class 5. Bei Su, who was standing behind the Razor Shadow Bat and controlling the Razor Shadow Bat, was hit by the burrowing lizard frog that had suddenly advanced because he didn't have any foresight or defense beforehand. Fortunately, the Edge Shadow Bat had used its body to block for Bei Su. Otherwise, Bei Su would have died from his body shattering when the Class 5 cave-dwelling lizard frog charged at him. Fortunately, Bei Su had encountered a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift and not the Class 5 cave lizard frog alone. When the cave lizard frog hit the Edge Shadow Bat and Bei Su, the Edge Shadow Bat used bat swarm absorption. The large number of dimensional lifeforms that gushed out of the pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift were like Bei Su's mobile blood bags. With the bat swarm absorption, Bei Su and the Edge Shadow Bat recovered from their injuries. This was how Bei Su's life was saved and allowed the Edge Shadow Bat to continue fighting. During the Third Celestial Council meeting, Lin Yuan knew that Bei Su was like a little fool. Not only did he not know how to use the diamond face storage box, but he also did not use the spirit fluid that Genius had concocted for Bei Su. Instead, he carried the diamond face storage box and spirit fluid on his body like a burden that needed to be carefully protected. After learning about this, Lin Yuan was willing to consume the power of the law. He also used the sacred source life form, the Celestial Council's functional astral spirit chair, to pass many books on general knowledge of spirit chi professionals to Bei Su. This included the use of the diamond phase storage box and spirit fluid. Under the guidance of the books, Bei Su brought the diamond phase storage box. He also fed the spirit fluid to the Bronze X/Fantasy Eye Edge Shadow Bat. After a day of absorption and strengthening, the Blade Shadow Bat had advanced to Platinum X/Fantasy Eye. The increase in strength of the Shadow Edge Bat also gave Bei Su the confidence to explore the underground world. The reason why Bei Su had set his sights on the pinnacle Class 2 dimensional rift was because of the 2 source-type items inside. Bei Su's plan was good, but he had almost failed because of the cave lizard frog. The cave lizard frog is and Cave King, Soul, the Platinum X/Fantasy Eye Sharp Shadow Dark Bat and a Diamond X/Legend Ordinary Fae were comparable in strength. Therefore, it was not difficult for the Platinum X/Fantasy Eye Blade Shadow Bat to attack the burrowing lizard frog. Soon enough, the Edge Shadow Bat used its Platinum ability, Bat Shadow Killing, to get rid of a large number of underground dimensional creatures. Only then did it stop the advancement of the pinnacle Class 2 dimensional rift's creature tide. Bat Demon during the Glur. And shot. Soul Fong Bat to kill. And the Class 5 cave lizard. The bat. It was all for the sake of healing Bei Su's serious injuries through the bat swarm absorb skill. As the cave lizard frog's vitality energy was extracted, Bei Su's vitality energy became denser. Bei Su slowly tried to stand up from the ground, but it affected his damaged and displaced organs. Bei Su almost lost his breath and fell to the ground. After another half an hour, Bei Su was completely healed by the Shadow Edge Bat's Swarm Absorb skill. After Bei Su recovered, he let the Blade Shadow Bat absorb the blood of the underground dimensional lifeforms to recover spirit chi outside the pinnacle Class 2 dimensional rift. Once the Blade Shadow Bat's spiritual power reached its peak, Bei Su entered the pinnacle Class 2 dimensional rift with the Blade Shadow Bat. After a few hours, Bei Su finally rushed out of the underground dimensional rift with the Sharp Shadow Dark Bat while covered in injuries. Bei Su revealed a bright smile when he saw the 2 source-type items in his hands. Bei Su sighed softly. Now, I finally have resources in my hands. Although Bei Su could not contract these two source-type items, he still did not feel depressed. After using the Blade Shadow Bat's Bat Swarm Absorb to clean up the Stone Swarm curse on his body, Bei Su became a free resident in the underground world. He was no longer a stone worm that could be controlled. In addition, he had the Platinum X/Fantasy Eye Blade Shadow Bat. In Bei Su's current location, he could definitely be considered a powerful existence. With these two source-type items, Bei Su could use them to find suitable spirit chi professionals. He could also use the Blade Shadow Bat's exclusive skill, Bat Fanged Blood, to control the spirit chi professionals suitable for these two source-type items and let them contract the source-type items to increase their strength. This way, Bei Su could smoothly gain subordinates and build his faction. After all, holding resources in a barren place like the Cave Continent's underground world was like holding diamonds in a slum. Resources could only be spent. After finding an underground river with the Blade Shadow Bat, Bei Su jumped in and happily washed away the dirt on his body. After washing himself, Bei Su's hand shook, and he took out a cloth pouch-like thing. This cloth pouch-like thing looked very much like the abdomen of some insect species Fae. However, this abdomen bag had been emptied, and it was filled with stones that emitted a faint glow. These stones had been collected by Bei Su from one insect species Fae after another. Bei Su used the collected luminous objects to make a simple small lamp. With the help of the light, Bei Su began to seriously wash his tattered clothes in the underground river. Right at this moment, Bei Su suddenly felt a wave of pressure. Bei Su felt his hair stand on end. Bei Su hurriedly grabbed the small lamp on the ground and ran back, not even having time to take back his clothes. At that moment, Bei Su saw a long tail covered with red scales disappear from the underground river. Bei Su touched his pounding heart and stood in place, unable to recover for a long time. Bei Su had lived in the underground world for so long, but this was the first time he knew that there was life in the underground river of the Cave Continent's underground world. Just by feeling the pressure of this life, Bei Su could not have the slightest thought of resisting it. Bei Su, who was on the shore, muttered, "Fuck, how can I take a bath in the future?" The second one was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:14. Bei Su, who had no clothes, looked at his body and suddenly felt a little shy. He found a cave with the edged shadow bat and let it kill a few crustacean rock insects for dinner. Then, Bei Su knocked on the rocks and lit a bonfire. Next to the campfire, he sewed new clothes for himself with tough insect wings. Bei Su nodded in satisfaction as he put on the new clothes that he had just finished sewing. Then, under the extreme reluctance of the razor shadow netherbat, he pulled it over. He took out a book from the diamond face storage box seriously and flipped it open to read the contents. Bei Su learned knowledge while letting the edged shadow bat learn as well. He did not care if the edged shadow bat could understand what he was reading. Bei Su only closed the book when the underground world shone with a faint light again. He let the edged shadow bat guard the cave entrance while he fell into a deep sleep. Bei Su stayed up all night so that he could successfully receive the guidance of the immortal constellation and enter the Celestial Council. During this period, Bei Su worked hard day and night so that he could proudly tell Lin Yuan about his achievements when he saw him. The next morning, Lin Yuan subconsciously wanted to touch Chimey and Genius, who were beside him. After touching it, Lin Yuan immediately sat up and sobered up. He then recalled that when he pulled Genius and Chimey to sleep together last night, Genius had said that it wanted to teach the 100 Questions beast in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Chimey had stayed up all night to do a live broadcast on Star Web in order to raise the Warm Sun Fund. The two little fellows were so busy that Lin Yuan looked like an idle person. Genius and Chimey had their own things to do and were full of enthusiasm, so Lin Yuan had no reason to stop them. Anyway, Genius and Chimey could rest in the Spirit Lock spatial zone whenever they were tired during the day. Lin Yuan went downstairs and found Lu Jia carrying maple syrup pancakes, apple pies, and all kinds of fillings on the table. Wen Yu was holding a paper document in her hand and flipping through it in front of the table. He couldn't help but smile on his face. Upon seeing her expression, Lin Yuan looked at her with some suspicion. He thought that Wen Yu was watching a joke and was so bored that she printed it out. The mother of Bloodbath, which was sitting on the water rhinoceros leather sofa, was holding a misty blood rose and absorbing its blood qi. Upon sensing his arrival, the mother of Bloodbath hurriedly opened its eyes. When Lin Yuan saw the misty blood rose in the mother of Bloodbath's hand, he knew that it had already absorbed all the blood brew grapes and the old vine leaves that had fallen from the blood brew grapevine. The mother of Bloodbath, which was eager to increase its strength, had already begun to look for other spiritual ingredients that contained blood energy to use. Lin Yuan hurriedly took a silver face storage box that he had prepared in advance and handed it to the mother of Bloodbath. The Heaven and Earth Fae, the blood brew grapevine, had a small harvest. The blood energy contained in the blood brew grapevine is more pure than the mist blood rose. There are still quite a lot of old vine leaves here. They should be enough for you to use for a while. When your strength reaches the peak of Myth 2, you can simply use the Law Crystal's power to devour the entire blood brew grapevine. Borrow the pure blood energy contained in the blood brew grapevine's main vine to temper your bloodline. Who knows, your bloodline might even improve. After consuming a large amount of essence blood during this period, the blood brew grapevine has already reached Diamond X/Legend. Even if this grade of the blood brew grapevine can't improve your bloodline, it can still evolve the 3 red water blood snakes that are fused with your blood bones. It might even be able to completely awaken the hornless dragon bloodline in the 3 red water blood snakes and turn them into scarlet blood dragons. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the mother of Bloodbath's eyes lit up. If it was really as Lin Yuan said, and the blood brew grapevine had reached Diamond X/Legend, then the mother of Bloodbath's eyes lit up. If it absorbed the blood brew grapevine's pure blood energy, there was indeed a high chance that it could purify its bloodline and evolve it. Evolution was an irresistible temptation for any Fae, and the mother of Bloodbath was no exception. However, the blood brew grapevine was a treasure that produced blood energy. In essence, it was no different from the elemental shellfish that produced various elemental pearls. It was a production-type Fae that provided resources. Each of these production-type Faes represented a massive amount of resources. While Lin Yuan was thinking for itself, he had actually used such a treasure to let the mother of Bloodbath try to purify its bloodline. Even though the mother of Bloodbath had been moved by Lin Yuan countless times, it was still deeply moved by Lin Yuan once again. Upon seeing the 8 bunches of blood brew grapevine and the old vine leaves in the diamond face storage box, the mother of Bloodbath was immediately shocked. It asked in disbelief, "Lin Yuan, could it be that you didn't prune the blood brew grapevine when you were nurturing it and allowed it to grow freely?" Lin Yuan nodded in response. He had nothing to hide from the mother of Bloodbath. "That's right. When I was nurturing the blood brew grapevine, I wanted to increase its production and also increase the quality of the produced blood brew grapevine. I have never controlled the growth of the blood brew grapevine, and I have never taken the initiative to prune its vines. Come to think of it, each bunch of blood brew grapevine is produced by a main vine and 2 auxiliary vines." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the mother of Bloodbath was shocked at how many Fae's essence blood Lin Yuan had used to water the blood brew grapevine. At the thought of its bloodline, the mother of Bloodbath's body immediately trembled with excitement. "Lin Yuan, if the Diamond X/Legend blood brew grapevine in your hand is growing freely, then even the auxiliary vines will contain the purest blood qi energy. Lin Yuan, if the Diamond X/Legend blood brew grapevine in your hand is growing freely, then even the auxiliary vines will contain the purest blood qi energy. With such a huge amount of pure blood qi energy, it is very likely that it will stimulate the bloodline hidden in my genetic model and stimulate the hidden bloodline that I have never revealed." At this point, the mother of Bloodbath let out a slight sigh. But after that hidden bloodline is stimulated, just relying on the pure blood qi energy to evolve is not enough. Pure spirit qi is also required. But pure spirit qi requires an extremely high concentration. Even the spirit fluid concocted by a Class 5 creation master might not have the concentration of spirit qi. Upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan was slightly startled. His face immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Through the mother of Bloodbath's exclusive skill, the external blood bone, Lin Yuan knew that the mother of bloodbath's bloodline was definitely extraordinary. However, he did not expect that the mother of bloodbath's genetic model had been suppressing a portion of its bloodline and not expressing it. If the mother of bloodbath's bloodline was completely expressed, what kind of level would it reach? Chapter 3. Crying. The torrential rain cancelled all of Button's activities. I didn't even finish my birthday. I got off work at 7 a.m. and went home to write until now. I wrote until 3 a.m. and posted it. Roar didn't miss any updates today. End of this chapter. Chapter 10-15. Lin Yuan did not dare to imagine the mother of Bloodbath's bloodline. It was no wonder the Moon Empress had chosen the mother of Bloodbath as her path protector. Upon seeing the expectant and worried expression on the mother of Bloodbath's face, Lin Yuan said, "Mother of Bloodbath, just focus on improving your strength. Mother of Bloodbath, just focus on improving your strength and absorb the old leaves of these blood brew grapes and blood brew grapevines. Leave high-density spirit chi to me. I promise to get you high-purity spirit chi that meets your requirements." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the mother of Bloodbath felt that there might not be another life form in this world that treated it better than Lin Yuan. Not even its own parents. Ever since the mother of Bloodbath became Lin Yuan's path protector, it felt that it had not performed its duties well. However, Lin Yuan, who needed to be protected, kept silently helping it. It seemed that ever since Lin Yuan had helped it bid for the source-type deep-sea blood mosquitoes at the private auction, his help had not stopped. Especially when it had advanced to Myth 2, Lin Yuan had known that there was danger, but he still stood as steady as a mountain in the wind and rain. The mother of Bloodbath could not forget Lin Yuan's worried eyes and determined expression at that time. The mother of Bloodbath did not know where Lin Yuan was going to help it get a large amount of pure spirit chi. However, it knew that since Lin Yuan had said it, he would definitely do it. The touched mother of Bloodbath's expression gradually became solemn. The soft-hearted mother of Bloodbath suddenly wanted to open its mouth and say the secret that had been suppressed in its heart and never told others. The mother of Bloodbath looked at Wen Yu and Lu Jia and thought of everything warm in the return from faraway manor. Lin Yuan, do you know why I need not only the purest blood energy but also pure spirit chi during the bloodline purification process? Lin Yuan raised his brows when he heard the mother of Bloodbath's words. The pure spirit chi that phase needed during the evolution process was nothing more than to purify their bloodline. For example, the azure gold snake that Lin Yuan had enhanced last night was very sensitive to pure spirit chi. It was under the pure spirit chi that the azure gold snake's bloodline had transformed into a bronze golden scaled snake during the evolution process. However, just as Lin Yuan was about to say that the mother of Bloodbath was also abnormally sensitive to pure spirit chi and wanted to rely on pure spirit chi to evolve its bloodline, Lin Yuan was stunned. This was because the mother of Bloodbath had been on him earlier. Although he was very careful, he rarely circulated his spiritual power when the mother of Bloodbath was with him. But even if he didn't circulate his spiritual power, the spiritual power would still become purer after passing through his body. He could hide this from others, but not from the mother of Bloodbath. If the mother of Bloodbath was really sensitive to pure spirit chi as a fae, then it should have long evolved its bloodline in his body. He definitely wouldn't wait until now. With that thought in mind, Lin Yuan felt that the mother of Bloodbath was a little mysterious. Thus, Lin Yuan made a bold guess. Could it be that you need pure spirit chi to break through the shackles of your bloodline, mother of Bloodbath? Or do you have a fortuitous encounter like Endless Summer? Upon hearing his words, the mother of Bloodbath shook its head and then nodded. I'm not trying to break through the bloodline shackles in my body. I was originally just a scarlet tarantula. It's true that I've been immersed in a large amount of blood energy due to a fortuitous encounter. A large amount of blood energy allowed my scarlet tarantula bloodline to advance further, making me a pinnacle existence among blood-type spider fays. However, the path of bloodline is ultimately too narrow. Even if I go down further, I'm destined not to go too far. It can't help me grow two cores like Sister Xia and transform from Endless Summer into Endless Divine Dream Summer. But the thing in my body is far more powerful than Sister Xia's 2 cores. Upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes in surprise. Previously, he had used Morbius True Data to examine the mother of Bloodbath and hadn't found anything special about it. In other words, even if there was something in the mother of Bloodbath's body, it couldn't be something that appeared out of thin air like Endless Summer's fortuitous encounter. If the mother of Bloodbath's body had something that didn't belong to it because of a fortuitous encounter, the thing in the mother of Bloodbath's body would not escape Lin Yuan's eyes under True Data's detection. It seemed that the mother of Bloodbath's body was very likely to suppress some innate existence that was hidden and did not show at all. This kind of thing could only come from the genetic model. Just like the evolving heaven and earth fae in the spirit lock spatial zone, the truth-clouded crane. In the absence of the heaven and earth fae's genetic model, Lin Yuan could not guess what the gray heaven and earth clouded crane was. Mother of Bloodbath, is there something special about your genetic model? The mother of Bloodbath was very surprised to hear that. It didn't expect Lin Yuan to infer its situation based on what it said. When Lu Jia and Wen Yu saw the mother of Bloodbath telling Lin Yuan a secret, they wanted to go to the kitchen to avoid arousing suspicion. The mother of Bloodbath looked at Lu Jia and Wen Yu, who were about to leave, and said, "If you two want to listen, come over and listen together. If you two want to listen, come over and listen together. Although what I'm going to say is my secret, there's no need to hide it from you two." When Lu Jia and Wen Yu heard the mother of Bloodbath's words, a warm smile appeared on their faces. As a fae, the mother of Bloodbath found it hard to trust humans. Furthermore, it had always been cold and not good at expressing emotions. However, during this period of time, Wen Yu and Lu Jia had treated the mother of Bloodbath as their family. Now, the mother of Bloodbath responded to Lu Jia and Wen Yu's feelings with one sentence. Wen Yu and Lu Jia sat on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and looked at the mother of Bloodbath seriously. They were ready to listen to the mother of Bloodbath's secret. The mother of Bloodbath looked at Lu Jia, Lin Yuan, and Wen Yu for a long time before asking softly, "Have you heard of the celestial jade spider? Have you heard of the celestial jade spider?" Upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan, Lu Jia, and Wen Yu pondered. Lin Yuan's spiritual energy was connected to Genius, and Genius had learned almost all the knowledge on Star Web. However, Lin Yuan was sure that Genius did not have any information on the celestial jade spider. Lu Jia was also at a loss. Lu Jia was not a creation master or a fae observer, so he didn't know much about arachnid faes. Therefore, he naturally couldn't know about the celestial jade spider that even Lin Yuan had not heard of. However, when Wen Yu heard about the celestial jade spider, her face immediately revealed a pondering expression. "I seem to have heard of the celestial jade spider, but I can't remember it clearly." After saying that, Wen Yu shouted softly. "Flutter." Source paper, Heaven Listening Mystic Manual. While speaking, Wen Yu's entire body turned into a huge ancient book. Hundreds of pieces of paper flew out of the ancient book, and each piece of paper was suffused with sparkling spiritual energy. It was as if a regular paper storm had formed. The first one was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:16. At this moment, one of the pieces of paper appeared in the center of the paper storm. Wen Yu had also transformed into her human form. She held the piece of paper in her hand and exclaimed in shock. "So this legend is true. I've always thought that the secrets before the revival of spirit energy recorded in the Hidden Moon Pavilion's 100 records of secrets were just folklore. But if the celestial jade spider really exists, is the formation of the lava zone in the extreme south really related to the celestial jade spider? And legend has it that the celestial corona jade spider is devouring." At this point, Wen Yu suddenly felt awkward. He looked awkwardly at the mother of Bloodbath and did not continue speaking. The mother of Bloodbath replied in a very natural manner. "I don't know if the folklore you mentioned before is true. However, if it was an 8 Meridians Genesis tier peak stage or a celestial corona jade spider that had just peaked into immortality, it wouldn't be impossible to create a volcanic zone in the extreme south." Lin Yuan and Lu Jia were confused as they listened to Wen Yu and the mother of Bloodbath. he didn't know why when you stopped halfway through her sentence. He did not know what the mother of Bloodbath and when you were talking about. However, they could not imagine that the formation of the continuous volcanic zone in the Radiance Federation's extreme south would be related to a fae. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath spoke. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. The heliotrope jade spider will indeed eat its partners when it's pregnant, and not just one. The celestial jade spider absorbs energy by devouring its partner, and injects the bloodline of one of its partners into its egg. And my mother was a Tiankue jade spider. Upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan felt that he had many more questions. What did it mean to eat one's partner, and not just one? Could it be that the celestial corona jade spider had many partners? Upon seeing the puzzled look on Lin Yuan's face, Wen Yu quietly handed the piece of paper in her hand to him. With one look, Lin Yuan felt as though his worldview had been impacted. If the celestial corona jade spider really was as described on the piece of paper that Wen Yu handed over. In that case, the celestial cobra jade spider should be the strangest fae that Lin Yuan had ever seen. The celestial corona jade spider was a hermaphrodite, and would produce an egg in its body at its peak. The celestial corona jade spider was at its strongest when it entered its gestation period. At this time, the celestial jade spider would release strong pheromones, just like in the natural environment. The celestial jade spider's pheromone was fatally attractive to any male arachnid fae that reached the celestial jade spider standard. These male arachne faes would do their best to think of ways to get close to the pregnant sky cobra jade spider. Under the enticement of the pheromones, the Skunda jade spider became the most suitable companion for him. However, these powerful arachnid faes didn't know that the celestial corona jade spider's body already had a spider egg. He was only there to provide energy for the spider eggs. Legend had it that every time the sky cobra jade spider appeared, the number of arachnid faes in the main world would be reduced by at least 10%. However, these dead male spider faes didn't die in vain. In the end, a lucky male spider fae would be chosen by the sky corona jade spider. He injected the male arachne fae's bloodline into the egg in his bosom. It was this strange gestation method that allowed the sky cobra jade spider to become one of the few faes that could comprehend two types of law runes through two bloodlines. Moreover, the laws that the sky cobra jade spider comprehended were basically fixed. After the sky cobra jade spider's bloodline awakened, it would directly comprehend a type of law from the sun. Through the law comprehended from the sun, the sky cobra jade spider could mobilize the sun's power. Lin Yuan stared blankly at the mother of Bloodbath for a long time. It seemed that the lucky male arachne fae chosen by the sky cobra jade spider should have been a scarlet tarantula. The mother of Bloodbath had been suppressing the sky cobra jade spider's gene sequence expression in its genetic model and had been living with the bloody tarantula bloodline. Lin Yuan felt that he still had to digest this information. However, he also knew how great the mother of Bloodbath's potential was based on this information. Lin Yuan had heard from his master, the Moon Empress, that there was a type of fae in the main world known as the spirit of heavenly favor. As long as this kind of spirit of heavenly favor didn't die prematurely, it would eventually become an unfathomably powerful existence. Presumably, the sky cobra jade spider should be a type of spirit of heavenly favor. The mother of Bloodbath looked at Wen Yu, Lin Yuan, and Lu Jie's eyes and noticed that they revealed a doubtful expression. A smile appeared on the mother of Bloodbath's cold face. If the three of you have any questions, feel free to ask. Since I've decided to tell you my secret, I'm not afraid of you asking. Lin Yuan asked softly upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words. Mother of Bloodbath, why didn't you choose to awaken the sky corona jade spider bloodline after so long, even after becoming a myth breed fae? Is it because of the need for pure spiritual qi? After the mother of Bloodbath revealed its secret, it thought that Lin Yuan would be very curious. Unexpectedly, Lin Yuan's curiosity was ultimately attributed to what he needed. How kind of a person was Lin Yuan? The mother of Bloodbath coughed lightly. I only found out that I have the bloodline of the celestial jade spider when I reached the Lord tier. At that time, the sky corona jade spider bloodline in my body wanted to awaken. But I didn't think that the awakening of the celestial corona jade spider bloodline would cause the sun to descend and pour the power of the sun into my body, modifying my body. My body was injured by the power of the sun. That's why I almost died when I advanced to a myth breed and experienced the world cleansing. After that, I used the scarlet tarantula's bloodline to suppress the corona jade spider's bloodline. I originally thought that I would have to keep suppressing the sky corona jade spider's bloodline. However, if I have the pure blood energy contained in the freely growing blood brew grapevine, I can use the pure blood energy to stimulate the scarlet tarantula bloodline in my body to the maximum. Let my body have the ability to withstand the power of the sun for a short period of time and complete the 15% transformation of the power of the sun on my body. Spirit Qi is the origin of all things. With pure spirit Qi as a catalyst, the body can absorb the power of the sun faster. Only then will I dare to take a gamble. Will I transform into a Skanda jade spider under the power of the sun and comprehend a new set of laws, or will I turn into a pile of dust under the power of the sun? Upon hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan felt that he had nothing to ask. Lin Yuan looked into the mother of Bloodbath's eyes very seriously and said firmly, "You don't have to worry about pure spirit Qi. I have enough. However, I hope that you can only awaken the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline in your body when you are fully prepared." Upon seeing Lin Yuan's solemn expression and serious promise, the mother of Bloodbath's heart became even softer, and it nodded gently. "Don't worry. If I am not fully prepared, I would rather never awaken the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline." The mother of Bloodbath did not say anything else. However, the mother of Bloodbath still whispered in its heart, "Compared to the temptation of becoming stronger, I can't bear to part with everyone in the return from faraway manor, and I can't bear to part with you." During breakfast, Lin Yuan's mind was constantly thinking about pure spirit Qi and the blood brew grapevine. He could also prepare something for the mother of Bloodbath to successfully awaken the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. However, Lin Yuan did not have any ideas at the moment. The second chapter, end of this chapter. Chapter 10:17. He planned to ask the Moon Empress when she returned regarding the mother of Bloodbath's life and death. After breakfast, Lin Yuan, who was sitting on the sofa in deep thought, saw Wen Yu walking over. Wen Yu shook the paper document in her hand and could not help but laugh. "Young master, I'm dying of laughter. The Blissful Ocean Clan is indeed called the Blissful Ocean Clan. It's like living in a dream." Upon hearing Wen Yu's words, Lin Yuan took the paper document from her hand and nearly spat out the 3 treasures tea he had just drunk. 2 days after the incident, even ordinary people knew that a spiritual ingredient called Aurora Pollen was no longer available in the market. The Blissful Ocean Clan, which was a veteran faction that relied on Aurora Pollen, realized that there was no more Aurora Pollen on the market. Lin Yuan had only guessed that the Blissful Ocean Clan had overexerted the development of the overseas fishery and had not paid attention to the changes in the market price of Aurora Pollen. When this thought had appeared, Lin Yuan had felt that it was ridiculous. As a veteran faction, the Blissful Ocean Clan would not be so stupid. He had not expected that his prediction would come true. When the Blissful Ocean Clan had been developing overseas resources, they had not paid attention to the changes in the market price of Aurora Pollen. When the Blissful Ocean Clan found out that Aurora Pollen could no longer be bought in the market, they had panicked. It was unknown what the Blissful Ocean Clan was thinking, but they had blamed the lack of Aurora Pollen on the Meow family's beast creation garden. The Blissful Ocean Clan was like a cornered rabbit that had crazily wanted to bite off a piece of meat from the top faction's beast creation garden. The Blissful Ocean Clan had thought of this. As long as the Blissful Ocean Clan's family head had some brains, he should have known that the beast creation garden could not control the plant phase on the market. The one that could really control the plant resources on the market was the Dew Immortal Garden. The Blissful Ocean Clan did not think of ways to cooperate with the Meow family's beast creation garden to destroy the Dew Immortal Garden. Instead, they pounced on the Meow family's beast creation garden. They thought that this was the Meow family's beast creation garden's revenge. The Meow family's beast creation garden had lost face because of the Nix conference and had been trying to reduce their presence as much as possible. As a result, the Blissful Ocean clan's crazy actions pushed the Miao family's beast creation garden to the heart of the struggle. The Miao family's beast creation garden had a feud with the Blissful Ocean clan. Now, they probably hated the Blissful Ocean clan even more. However, it was not convenient for the Miao family's beast creation garden to do anything to the Blissful Sea clan. He planned to quietly watch the show and wait for the Blissful Sea tribe to keep losing blood. The Blissful Sea tribe wouldn't just sit there and wait for death. Even if the Blissful Sea tribe couldn't solve the problem, they would still find someone to solve the problem. As long as Sun Ningxiang didn't respond, the Blissful Sea tribe would still turn to him for help. At that time, the Blissful Sea tribe, this big fat fish, would be taken advantage of by him. Moreover, when he had strengthened the bronze/epic angelfish of bliss for the Blissful Sea tribe, he had played tricks on it. The Aurora pollen should have taken effect after he extorted the Sea tribe of bliss. At that moment, Lin Yuan was waiting for Jing Kaiyuan to use the Blood Oath Extreme Duel to challenge the Sky City. At that time, not only could the Sky City show its might, but it could also smoothly take over the Jing family's resources. When the Blissful Sea tribe lost a certain amount of blood, the Blissful Sea tribe would also become the Sky Cities. Lin Yuan handed the paper in his hand back to Wen Yu and said, "Keep an eye on the Blissful Sea tribe. Keep an eye on the Blissful Sea tribe during this period." Lin Yuan paused and said, "Keep an eye on the Blissful Sea tribe. Keep an eye on the Indigo Azure City's Jing family's movements." After saying that, Lin Yuan turned to look at Lu Jia, who was combing the Insect Queen's hair. "Big Brother Lu, the major factions experts have to report to the Spirit Guards whenever they move together. When the Indigo Azure City's Jing family reports to the Spirit Guards, inform me immediately. We should also get ready." Lu Jia narrowed his eyes and revealed a cold glint. During dinner last night, Lin Yuan had already told Jing Kaiyuan about his intention to let the Jing family launch a Blood Oath Extreme Duel against the Sky City. Lu Jia didn't think that Jing Kaiyuan would dare to deceive Lin Yuan after knowing that he was the Moon Empress disciple. Therefore, what Jing Kaiyuan said was 100% true. Lu Jia knew that Endless Summer had become a monarch-class creation breed Fae. If an emperor-class expert appeared in a veteran faction like the Jing family, which had been fighting for resources in Indigo Azure City, it was likely that everyone knew about it by now. Therefore, the Blood Oath Extreme Duel between the Jing family and the Sky City that Jing Kaiyuan had instigated would at most produce an emperor-class expert. The only variable that could appear was the Miao family's beast creation garden. He was afraid that the Miao family's beast creation garden would misjudge the relationship between Lin Yuan and Jing Kaiyuan and provide Jing Kaiyuan with an emperor-class expert to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Lu Jia felt that it was time for him to do something. He wanted the Miao family's beast creation garden to not dare to make any moves even if they wanted to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Lu Jia chuckled. It seemed that it was time for him, the young palatial lord of Night End Palace, to hold the Miao family responsible for the disturbance at the Evernight Conference. "Lin Yuan, if the Jing family reports to the Spirit Guards, I'll inform you immediately. I heard you say that you want to wait for the Miao family's beast creation garden to take the initiative to come and get some resources from them. Then you'll be the good guy, and I'll be the bad guy. Let the beast creation garden only dare to come and show 100% sincerity." Lin Yuan immediately smiled when he heard Lu Jia's words. Lin Yuan had always felt that Lu Jia was a little inflexible when it came to faction development and was not as flexible as Wen Yu and Listen. Now that Lu Jia had finally grown in terms of faction development, he had started to think. The Insect Queen, whose hair was being combed by Lu Jia, flapped its wings and kissed Lu Jia on the face. It then flew to the door and pointed in the direction of the hidden Wyrm lake. Lu Jia's Insect Queen was the one that liked the hidden Wyrm lake the most in the mansion. For the past few days, the Insect Queen had always asked Lu Jia to sit quietly on the leaves of the hidden Wyrm lake's sun reflection king lotus, and Lu Jia let it be. After bidding farewell to Lin Yuan and Wen Yu, Lu Jia brought the Insect Queen to the hidden Wyrm lake. Just as Lin Yuan was about to discuss the issue of taking over the Jing family's faction with Wen Yu, she suddenly spoke. Young master, I've been eating at least 20 pieces of angelfish of bliss's fish coat every day. Luckily, the fish coat of the angelfish of bliss doesn't make me fat. Otherwise, I'd definitely be a fatty. At this point, when you blinked and said, "But young master, I haven't been eating the angelfish of bliss's fish coat for free. With my current mental strength, I should be able to add 2 new members to the Celestial Council." The third one. He had only finished writing now. He was not satisfied with the 4,000 words about the mother of Bloodbath, so he had to rework. After reworking, she felt that the first time was the best, but she didn't save the first time and cried. Please support buttons. Good night, everyone. End of chapter. Chapter 10:18. It was currently noon in the Radiance Federation, but it wasn't the same for other places in the Origin world. Different federations, different geographical locations, and different timings were also different. The Agro continent, which was adjacent to the Radiance continent, was 7 hours ahead of the Radiance Federation. Lin Yuan and Wen Yu had just finished their breakfast, and it was only 7:30 am. However, the Agro continent was currently at its darkest hour. The darkness on the horizon was getting denser, and the dark night was drifting with a dense fog that completely blocked any trace of light. Big brother, now that things have reached this stage, my entire family is still here. I won't do it if you ask me to be a coward. The one who spoke was a youth with a buzz cut who looked to be 14 or 15 years old. Bean-sized tears were rolling down from the youth's grape-like eyes. The youth's eyes were red, and he was clenching his fists so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. He was like a crazy and sorrowful little beast. In front of the youth with the buzz cut was a youth who was wearing leather spirit chi clothes and looked rather determined. The young man's coarsely cut fur spirit chi clothes made him look simple and wild. When the determined youth saw the tears rolling down from the youth's eyes, his eyes couldn't help but turn red. However, the determined youth's expression of forbearance didn't cause the youth with the buzz cut to tear up. The determined youth used his hand to rub the youth's buzz cut and said, "Lei, you are the hope of the entire race. Xiaolei, you are the entire race's hope. In the entire race, only you possess the creation master talent. If you are swayed by your emotions and stay behind at such a time, the entire race's hope will be gone." When the youth with the buzz cut heard the determined youth's words, he couldn't hold it in anymore and let out all his emotions. Big brother, dad, mom, grandpa, and grandma, they are always thinking about the entire race. Why are you talking about the entire clan all the time now? My family is no longer around. Even if I become a creation master and survive, what's the point? The youth with the buzz cut was too emotional, and his intense yelling made his voice a little hoarse. The determined youth let out a soft sigh. He then placed his hand on the youth with the buzz cut's head and gently rubbed it before saying, "Lei, you will be 15 years old tomorrow. Lei, you'll be 15 years old tomorrow. You're not young anymore." When you were 15, Big Brother had already followed the clan's team to explore the underground dimensional rift. You should learn to grow up faster. When the resolute young man saw that the boy with the brush cut was still agitated and ignored his words, his expression suddenly turned serious. Little Thunder, our Iron Horseshoe tribe and Black Copper tribe have discovered a high-grade energy or vein and an accompanying ore of gold-grade spirit material, Frost Silver. We discovered the mine together, but not only did we not have the right to develop it together with the Black Copper tribe, we even suffered the calamity of extinction. It is because the Black Copper tribe has a Class 2 creation master. In the Iron Hammer Federation, any creation master that appears in a tribe will be recognized by the Iron Hammer Federation's Imperial Court and become a tribe under the Imperial Court. According to the tribe's creation master's grade, the Royal Tribe's grade will be the same as the creation master's grade, ranging from 1 to 5 stars. Because of that Class 2 creation master, the Black Copper tribe has long since become a Class 2 tribe that is recognized by the Imperial Court in the Iron Hammer Federation. It is a piece of cake for a Class 2 tribe to get rid of a tribe like ours that doesn't have a creation master. Little Thunder, if you can become a Class 1 creation master and our Iron Horseshoe tribe has a Class 1 creation master, Even if the Black Copper tribe is afraid that we will leak the information about the high-grade energy or vein and the accompanying gold-grade spirit material, Frost Silver, the Black Copper tribe won't dare to exterminate us. Little Thunder, this is the iron law of survival in this world. As long as you are around, the Iron Horseshoe tribe will never disappear. Even if the Iron Horseshoe tribe is gone now, you will be able to recreate the Iron Horseshoe tribe's glory in the future. In Trey's impression, his elder brother had never spoken to him in such a serious tone. Trey had never thought that there would be a day when he would be powerless to see the tribe that he had grown up in disappear. At this moment, Trey finally saw the truth of the world and had grown up in this carefree age. Trey calmly sorted out his emotions and suppressed all of them to the bottom of his heart along with his sore nose and rolling tears. Trey forced his voice to not tremble and tried to ask his elder brother calmly. "Brother, when are you going to send me away?" The determined young man saw Trey's appearance and stretched out his young, calloused palm. After wiping away the tears on Trey's face with the palm that was not covered in calluses, he said, "Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, and I will prepare the supplies for you tonight. You sleep for a while. In a while, Grandpa will use his silver-grade stone mold to open the secret tunnel under the tribe. After you enter the tunnel, the ground drilling mole will destroy the tunnel. After that, I can't teach you what to do. You just have to work hard to survive with the hope of the Iron Horseshoe tribe." After the determined young man left, Trey suppressed his sadness, pain, and anxiety and lay on the bed with his eyes closed tightly. Since he had chosen to escape, he needed sufficient spiritual power and physical strength. At this time, sleeping was definitely the most beneficial thing for his escape. Therefore, Trey silently hypnotized himself in his heart to not think about everything in reality. Then, he used the method that his mother had taught him to cure insomnia and counted the sheep. Even so, before falling asleep, Trey still silently muttered in his heart, "If Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, and Big Brother don't die, I am willing to exchange everything for them." It was still late at night, and the sky was filled with stars. A short-haired woman was staggering on the street. In this place, even late at night, the entire street was still full of people. On the street, there were boxes of various spirit fruits. In front of every street stall, there was a vendor in strange clothes, softly humming a song, occasionally twisting his body from time to time. It was full of an exotic flavor. From all of this, it could be seen that the people here were very fond of song and dance, as if song and dance had integrated into their lives. The short-haired girl's entire face was painted black, and her body was bent as she walked on the road. From time to time, she would receive looks of contempt from the vendors on the roadside. The short-haired girl seemed to be very calm about the contempt of these vendors, but there was a deep disdain in the depths of the short-haired girl's eyes. It was as if the short-haired girl was born to be superior, and the people around her were not worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as her. At this moment, the short-haired girl suddenly fell to the ground, holding her head and shivering. The first one was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:19. Su Iran bit her lip. Ever since she had been stranded in the Divine Wood Federation, she had been severely injured because of the Absolute Love Poppy. It caused his soul, which was connected to the Absolute Love Poppy, to suffer devastating damage. His Fae was also connected to the Sacred Source Life Form, the Absolute Love Poppy. His Sacred Source Life Form, the Absolute Love Poppy, was damaged, and none of his Faes could be used. Now, the frequency at which his soul was injured had dropped from 5 times a day to almost once an hour. Even if Su Iran was once one of the 5 dark envoys chosen by the 7 dark nations. At this moment, he was still suffering from the pain in his soul that came once every hour. He couldn't help but think, if I die, everything will be over. But every time Su Iran thought about how so many people had risked their lives to keep her alive, she felt a chill run down her spine. Moreover, the person who had escaped still carried all the hopes of the Dark Federation. Zoiran gritted her teeth and made up her mind. Unless he couldn't continue living due to the damage to his soul, he would think about how to recover the Dark Federation as long as he was alive. He wanted to snatch the Dark Continent back from the hands of the damned Seventh Page War. At this thought, Su Yiren felt a strong sense of helplessness. He was now living like a beggar in the Divine Wood Federation, and the damage to his soul made him unable to do any work. He could only wait until the night was over and the night market was closed. Then, like a stray dog, he would pick up rotten fruits discarded by the street vendors to fill his stomach. At that moment, Su Yiren suddenly heard the sound of a fey carriage rolling on the ground. The Divine Wood Federation was rich in all kinds of plant species fays and insect species fays. Beast fays were relatively scarce. Therefore, the nobles in the Divine Wood Federation all pursued spirit chi clothing made of animal fur. In this regard, the Divine Wood Federation was the opposite of the Iron Hammer Federation next to it. As the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation were both at war, there was friction all the time. The two major federations were constantly targeting each other's creation master resources and assassinating the opposing federation's creation masters. Due to the blood feud, the resources between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation basically had no chance to flow. At this time, Su Yiren knew that there should be nobles of the Divine Wood Federation passing by in front of her. However, Sui Yiren, who was suffering from the pain in her soul, did not have the strength to give way. Given Su Yiren's status in the past, small nobles like the Divine Wood Federation would not even be in her eyes. In the past, even Emperor-class beings could only stand by Su Yiren's side and act as her bodyguards. But things were different now. Su Yiren, who was trembling on the ground, felt 2 heavy blows to her body. Su Yiren was not sure if the coachman's whip had hit her or if she had been kicked by the Fae pulling the carriage. Su Yiren could not feel the pain in her body, because compared to the pain in her soul, it was nothing. The pain on his body was not worth mentioning. However, the crimson liquid gushing from her throat told Sui Yiren that her internal organs had been severely damaged. She did not know if her internal organs were merely bleeding or had been destroyed. In her daze, Zoiran felt like she was seeing her younger self. His appearance alone was enough to captivate all living beings. Su Yiren's consciousness became more and more hazy. Su Yiren, who was in pain, had a bitter smile on her face. Zoiran was certain that she would not survive the night due to both her physical and spiritual injuries. She was afraid that she would be cleaned up by someone with a frown tomorrow morning. Su Yiren, who had always believed in herself and not in fate, seemed to have been guided by the dark. She thought in her mind, if I can take back the Dark Continent, no, if I can live, I am willing to exchange everything. When Lin Yuan heard that the Celestial Council could add 2 new members, a smile immediately appeared on his face. On one hand, Lin Yuan was happy for the increase in her spiritual energy. On the other hand, the Celestial Council's addition of 2 new members allowed the Celestial Council's layout to spread further. When used Sacred Source Life Form, the Celestial Council could let Lin Yuan, Wen Yu, or the other people sitting on the 12 zodiac thrones, have the qualifications to become a system. Those on the northern and southern zodiac thrones were the protagonists provided by the system. The Celestial Council could guarantee the loyalty of those who signed the northern and southern zodiac thrones according to oaths and contracts. At the same time, the people on the 12 zodiac thrones also needed the ability to complete the things that they had to do even if they had to give up everything. Yin Lin and Bei Su had opened up the 2 veins of the Azure Federation and the Cave Continent's underground world for Lin Yuan's Sky City. Therefore, Lin Yuan was full of anticipation for the Celestial Council's 2 new members. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Wen Yu continue to speak. Young Master, the first time I used the Sacred Source Life Form, the Celestial Council, I didn't have any experience. Actually, when we convened the Celestial Council, there were many people who wanted to give up everything in order to achieve one thing. These people are all qualified to be guided by the Celestial Council to enter the Celestial Council. Therefore, if young Master is not suitable for the selection, we can directly kick the person out of the Celestial Council and let someone else fill the position. Upon hearing Wen Yu's words, Lin Yuan blinked. Why did Lin Yuan feel that the Celestial Council's selection of Sacred Source Lifeforms was like an interview? However, Lin Yuan felt that the Celestial Council's sacred source lifeform function was simply too amazing. Otherwise, what if the Celestial Council guided someone to make a wish that I want to give up everything in exchange for dying with my boyfriend? Even if Lin Yuan could do such a request, he absolutely did not want to do it. Then Wen Yu returned to her room and prepared to eat some angelfish of Bliss's fish coat in preparation for the Celestial Council. Since Lin Yuan had nothing to do, he went to the back mountain to check on the construction of the underground space. As expected of a Class 5 spirit craftsman, Hu Quan personally supervised the work and led over 400 Class 3 and 4 spirit craftsmen to build with all their might. At that moment, the prototype of the underground space had been completely built, and the next step was some delicate work. For example, Hu Quan wanted to build the underground space into an underground palace. Every inch of the underground space's stone walls would be engraved with murals. He would also use the blue firing technique to paint the murals. It would take at least half a year to complete this part. It could be said that under such circumstances, the underground space could already be used. When Lin Yuan finished exploring the underground space and walked out, he happened to see Hu Quan and said to him, "You're right." The second part was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:20. Uncle Hu, help me build the interior of the mountain, which is also the end of the underground space. I'll use that place in a few days. After that, I'll seal this place off. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Quan patted his chest and said, "That's right. Don't worry, Lin Yuan. The area at the end of the underground space is the sturdiest. You instructed me before, so I asked Listen to find a lot of diamond uranium steel when I was building it. After I got the radium uranium steel, I used it to reinforce the internal walls of the mountain. I don't plan on carving murals in this place. Carving murals on a wall made of radium uranium steel is simply asking for trouble. Therefore, I intend to paste a layer of sheepfat jade on the surface of the radium uranium steel. The sheepfat jade is pure white, and just by reflecting the light of the sun reflection king lotus, it can make the inside of the mountain as bright as the outside." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan knew that Hu Quan had spent a lot of effort on the underground space's construction. Lin Yuan hurriedly replied, "Thank you for your hard work, Uncle Hu." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Quan hurriedly waved his hand. "How can this be considered hard work? This is simply a pleasure. You are not a spirit craftsman, so you will not be able to understand the joy of a spirit craftsman creating a satisfactory work. Right now, the underground space and the hidden dragon lake are more or less complete. The rest of the mural carvings and the construction of the pavilion on the hidden dragon lake can be left to those brats. To be honest, I've been hooked by the pearls you've given me for the past 2 days. Now, I can finally calm down and go into seclusion. I can think about how to weave the heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls for you with the 107 pearls containing the Lan Lan Shan and the heavenly maiden grade elemental pearl containing the goddess Gerbera." Upon hearing Hu Quan's words, Lin Yuan laughed heartily. Uncle Hu's craftsmanship is the best in the entire manor. In Uncle Hu's hands, these heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls will definitely shine with the most beautiful light. Hu Quan looked at Lin Yuan and suddenly felt that his 6 months had been a little surreal. In half a year, he had gone from a Class 4 spirit craftsman with the most negative reviews in the royal capital to an upstart among the Class 5 spirit craftsmen. Every day, he used spirit materials that he didn't even dare to think about half a year ago. His current gains were all thanks to this young man in front of him. Hu Quan raised his fist and said firmly, "Young master, after becoming a Class 5 spirit craftsman, I realized that the world after becoming a Class 5 spirit craftsman is far vaster than that of a Class 4 spirit craftsman. Although there are no higher stars after Class 5 spirit craftsman, my desire to move forward will never change." When Lin Yuan heard Hu Quan's words, he raised his eyebrows, not knowing why Hu Quan suddenly wanted to show his determination. "I wonder if Uncle Hu has heard that the Radiance Federation has opened the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift. All the veteran factions and pinnacle factions are preparing to start exploring the Abyss world. The world is developing. Nothing is impossible. All of us are pioneers of the times. no one can say if there will be a 6-star spirit craftsman in the future. Creation masters have the same star class as other lifestyle class spirit chi professionals, so Uncle Hu, let us improve together. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Quan felt that he, an old man, was also infected with the vigor of a youth. After talking with Hu Quan for a while, Lin Yuan thought of Yin Lin and Bei Su. Yin Lin had now become an Azure envoy and was doing better than him. In terms of material matters, Lin Yuan hardly needed to care or contribute to Yin Lin. However, Bei Su was different. Lin Yuan was really afraid that something would happen to Bei Su in the cave continent's underground world and that he would not be able to appear in the Celestial Council. Lin Yuan felt that it was time for him to arm Bei Su. However, Bei Su had just comprehended a willpower rune. If he rashly prepared a fei for Bei Su, if the fei did not match the willpower rune that Bei Su comprehended in the future, it would not be good for Bei Su's future development. Lin Yuan simply took out all the source-type items he had accumulated. He planned to see if there were any source-type items that Bei Su could contract without occupying his spiritual energy. Lin Yuan had accumulated more than 500 source-type items in his hands. This was the number he had obtained without deliberately collecting source-type items. After carefully rummaging through the 500-plus source-type items for a moment, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. Some source-type items' contract conditions were a little harsh, and their abilities were very unorthodox. However, they were extremely useful for specific people. After Lin Yuan divided out such source-type items, he deliberately stored them. Among these 500 source-type items, there were indeed 2 that Bei Su could contract. However, the contract methods of these 2 source-type items conflicted. One of them was a source-type life form called the Dark Vine Possession. The Dark Vine Possession's contract condition was to be lodged in a spirit chi professional's flesh, which was a bit similar to the gold ring spine goo that Lin Yuan had encountered previously. However, the gold ring spine goo would eat away at the spirit chi professional's spine goo, causing the spirit chi professional's roots to be damaged. However, the Dark Vine Possession would not. The Dark Vine Possession only needed to absorb the energy in the spirit chi professional's body. If the spirit chi professional possessed by the Dark Vine could absorb enough energy every day, his body would never be affected. However, the Dark Vine Possession could only be used in an environment without light. In an environment with sufficient light, the Dark Vine Possession's leaves would curl up and enter a dormant state. It was suitable for Bei Su to contract the Dark Vine Possession. After all, even if it was noon in the underground world, it was not bright. However, this was equivalent to limiting Bei Su's strength when he reached the surface. The other source-type item was the Life Node Rock Crystal, which was very domineering. The Life Node Rock Crystal was somewhat similar to Lu Jie's Insect Queen. Once it was contracted, it could not contract any source-type items or phase through the body. In other words, Bei Su could not contract source-type items or phase through the blood contract or the body. However, Bei Su's method of using spiritual energy to contract phase was still retained. This was also the place where the Life Node Rock Crystal's conditions were more relaxed than the Insect Queen's contract. After Bei Su contracted the Life Node Rock Crystal, a layer of crystal-like skin would grow on the surface of his body, which was equivalent to increasing Bei Su's defense. This would allow Bei Su to have an additional guarantee in the cave continent's underground world. The source-type Life Node Rock Crystal was also very easy to nurture and did not need pure spirit chi to increase its grade and quality. Instead, like Red Thorn, it needed to constantly devour to improve. However, Red Thorn devoured flesh, while the Life Node Rock Crystal was a life that ate soil. It needed to constantly devour ores and metals to grow. The Life Node Rock Crystal also did not need Bei Su to comprehend the willpower rune himself. Just like the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, the Life Node Rock Crystal could comprehend the willpower rune on its own when it reached Diamond X/Legend. Lin Yuan felt that the Life Node Rock Crystal was more suitable for Bei Su. After all, the cave continent's underground world was rich in rocks, ores, and metals, which was very convenient for enhancing the source-type Life Node Rock Crystal. After helping Bei Su choose the source-type item, Lin Yuan found Wen Yu in the training room just like when he entered the Celestial Council. He sat on a chair and entered the Celestial Council with Wenyu. Chapter 3 Sad Face. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:21. In the middle of the layers of nebulae in the sky, two bright starlights suddenly lit up on the ecliptic Lord's throne, which was originally emitting golden light. Following that, a gigantic nebula of the Leo constellation and Libra constellation appeared above the Leo and Libra constellation. The Leo and Libra nebulae's light overshadowed the other main constellation nebulae that were originally side by side. Lin Yuan and Wenyu's figures appeared on the thrones of the Leo and Libra constellations. Wenyu turned to look at Lin Yuan, who was sitting not far from her, and asked softly, "Young master, do you think we should start selecting the Celestial Council's third and fourth members first? It's better if I direct the Perseus Nebula and Virgo Nebula of the northern and southern sky to summon Bei Su and Yin Lin over. After Yin Lin and Bei Su arrive and finish talking, we'll leave some time to select the Celestial Council's third and fourth members." Upon hearing Wenyu's words, Lin Yuan frowned slightly and pondered slightly. He could carry out the Celestial Council's selection of members first and hide it from Yin Lin and Bei Su. He would let all the Celestial Council members not know how they had been selected. There was an advantage in doing so, which was to increase the sense of mystery. However, such an approach would imperceptibly reduce the old members' recognition of the new members. Moreover, Yin Lin and Bei Su had also signed a contract with the Immortal Nebula and Virgo Nebula thrones and were considered on the same side. Therefore, in Lin Yuan's opinion, this sense of mystery was far less important than the old members' recognition of the new members. According to Wenyu, the Celestial Council's members could be selected. Then, Lin Yuan could have a certain degree of control over the selected members of the Celestial Council. Although the Celestial Council could scatter sparks everywhere in the main world, it was not easy for sparks to become blazing flames. It was very likely that the sparks would be extinguished before they could burn. If possible, Lin Yuan was even willing to arrange for one more Celestial Council member in the cave continent so that this new member could take care of Bei Su. After checking Bei Su's life history, Lin Yuan felt a little sorry for him. In terms of profits, if Bei Su died, all of Lin Yuan's previous investments would be equivalent to going down the drain. In addition, the location of the spatial tunnel and the return from faraway mansion's underground space would be completely completed in 2 days. At that time, he could open the spatial tunnel leading to the Divine Wood Federation at any time. Therefore, if the members of the Celestial Body Council happened to be in the Divine Wood Federation, or in the Iron Hammer Federation or the Deep Brahman Federation outside of the Divine Wood Federation of the Astonishing Pattern Great Path, they would definitely be able to survive. It was the same as giving Lin Yuan a native helper on his path to the Shock Pattern continent. At the thought of this, Lin Yuan said, "That's right. Let's hold the 4th Celestial Body Conference first. After the meeting for 15 minutes, we will decide the choice of the 2 new members of the Celestial Council." Upon hearing that, a cat's eye stone immediately appeared in the center of her forehead. This cat's eye stone appeared very abruptly, especially in the Celestial Body Council, where everything was illusory and even Lin Yuan's and Wenyu's figures were composed of willpower and laws. The halo flowing on this real cat's eye stone caused the celestial bodies to change, just like the core of all the nebulae. Suddenly, the cat's eye stone on her forehead seemed to open. Then, the Andromeda Nebula and the Perseus Nebula lit up. The moment the Andromeda Nebula and the Perseus Nebula lit up, Yin Lin and Bei Su's will were pulled into the Celestial Council. They had been looking forward to the 4th Celestial Council as early as the end of the 3rd Celestial Council. Upon seeing Wenyu and Lin Yuan, both of them revealed joy and intimacy. Upon seeing them, Lin Yuan gently tapped his fingers on the armrest of the Leo throne and said, "It's been a long time. The duration of this Celestial Council has not changed, and it's still 30 minutes. However, we only have 15 minutes to talk. In the remaining 15 minutes, the Celestial Council will welcome 2 new members." Yin Lin and Bei Su were immediately stunned when they heard Lin Yuan's words. Originally, when Yin Lin and Bei Su saw so many seats beside them, they knew that it was very likely that there would be other people joining the Celestial Council in the future. They had long expected this in their hearts. However, when Lin Yuan said this, Yin Lin and Bei Su could not help but have a trace of faint fear. Lin Yuan had given Yin Lin light, saved Bei Su's life, and given him a fei. This gave Bei Su the capital to survive in the cave continent. Yin Lin's fear was slightly less. After all, Yin Lin had parents and family and was also an Azure envoy. The only person Bei Su's vitality could get close to was Lin Yuan. Be it Yin Lin or Bei Su, they were afraid that there would be newcomers joining the Celestial Council, and their presence in Lin Yuan would weaken. However, other than a faint sense of fear, Yin Lin and Bei Su also had a lot of expectations in their hearts. The Celestial Council was like a family. Bei Su and Yin Lin were also looking forward to the appearance of a new member in the family to fill up this family of 4. At that moment, Yin Lin had something to say to Lin Yuan, but just as she was about to say it, she revealed a contemplative expression. Because Yin Lin's Azure Clouded Leopard and Spirit Speech White Lion Beast marks had been awakened, she had become the 4th Azure envoy. Yin Lin, who had read so many books, naturally knew what it meant to be an Azure envoy and what kind of responsibilities they had. Logically speaking, Yin Lin should not have directly revealed her identity as an Azure envoy. However, after much consideration, Yin Lin still decided to speak. Lion, I am now an Azure envoy of the Azure Federation. At this point, Yin Lin added another sentence. I was informed at the Celestial Council last time, but it was not confirmed at that time, so I did not mention it to you. Lin Yuan did not have a strong desire to control Yin Lin and Bei Su. He was not a person with a strong desire to control. As long as Yin Lin and Bei Su were loyal to the Celestial Council, Lin Yuan did not think it was a problem even if Yin Lin and Bei Su had some ulterior motives. Lin Yuan had only found out by chance that Yin Lin had become an Azure envoy from the conversations of the lords at the Dark Night Assembly. Lin Yuan had not thought of confirming this matter with Yin Lin at the Celestial Council this time. However, Yin Lin had confessed to him without any defense, which surprised and touched him. Lin Yuan said softly, actually, you can also have secrets in your heart. You don't have to tell me about the Azure Envoy's matters. I think you also know that the Azure Envoy is very important, so you don't have to tell me about it. Although Yin Lin had revealed her identity to Lin Yuan, if she really told him about what she knew as an Azure Envoy. Although Yin Lin had exposed her family to Lin Yuan, if she really told him what she knew as an Azure Envoy, she would not be able to do so. Yin Lin really felt that it was inappropriate. Chapter 1022. Now, Lin Yuan's words made Yin Lin unnecessary to be at a loss. Yin Lin felt that she was always so relaxed with Lin Yuan. Yin Lin thought about the faction territory she had already bought and said to Lin Yuan, I'm not sure. Lion, I've already established my force. It's just that I've just obtained my faction, and I haven't had the time to build my territory yet. Therefore, I still need to think about the development of my faction. Upon hearing Yin Lin's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows. As expected of an Azure envoy of the Azure Federation, Yin Lin had already obtained her own territory so quickly. Of course, this also meant that Yin Lin was very attentive to the task he had given her. When it came to the Azure envoy's duties, Lin Yuan should not understand too much. However, he was still very interested in the construction of Yin Lin's faction. Lin Yuan asked. You already have your territory, so the next step is to start building it according to your faction's functions. Do you have any thoughts on the organization's functions? Hearing that, Yin Lin immediately said confidently. Currently, I have 2 plans for the organization's functions. The first aspect is to use the military resources around me to explore and develop the water world. The second aspect is to use the geographical conditions of my current territory to protect and cultivate hundreds of rare corals within the territory. I plan to take care of these 2 aspects. The first aspect is the exploration of the water world, which allows me to use the martial resources I control to obtain resources in the water world. The second aspect is to make use of the creation master resources that I have and use the martial force resources to obtain materials from the water world to develop the creation master resources. Upon hearing Yin Lin's words, Lin Yuan nodded. It could be said that Lin was quite experienced in the development of forces. Moreover, Lin's identity as an Azure Blue emissary meant that she was able to set up her own functions according to the local conditions and fully mobilize the resources that she controlled. He could already predict that Lin's faction would soon develop and grow in the Azure Federation. It was even easier than developing Sky City in the Radiance Federation. Just as Lin Yuan was about to say something, Lin continued to speak. Lion, have you heard of the Blue Splendor route? After I became an Azure Envoy, I obtained a mature island whale. Although rare coral resources are precious in the Azure Federation, there are still some forces that manage them. I plan to use the island whale I obtained to run the brilliant Blue Sea route for inter-federation trade. In this way, the value of these rare coral resources will increase exponentially. Upon hearing Lin's words, Lin Yuan and Wen Yu looked at each other. Lin did not know that they were from the Radiance Federation. He now had the ability to trade across the Federation, and there were 3 of them. The first was to use Wen Yu's sacred source life form, the Celestial Council's astral spirit chair, to transfer items during the Celestial Council's proceedings. It was just that this method of exchanging resources was too costly and extravagant. It could not be used on a large scale. The second was the floating island whale. After the Spirit Lock spatial zone had evolved, the incubation time of the floating island whale had been greatly shortened. Even so, it would take more than 3 months for the floating island whale to hatch. The third was the ethereal jellyfish's exclusive skill, Space Tunnel. However, while the stability of the space tunnel was stable, it could only be used against the Federation. Due to the distance, he could only point to the Divine Wood Federation, so he had never carried out inter-federation trade. Suddenly, Lin Yuan thought of an idea. Is there any difficulty in developing rare coral resources? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lin revealed a bitter smile. Even if Lin became an Azure Envoy and obtained powerful military resources through her family's connections. However, Lin, who did not have much foundation, did not have many Creation Master resources. Rare coral species phase were all delicate little things, and they required a lot of Creation Master resources to maintain them at all times. Among them, the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that contained all kinds of pure elemental energy were consumed the most. For things like creating resources, Lin couldn't rely too much on her family. Through his conversation with Lin Yuan knew about her difficulties and immediately said, "Don't worry. Since that's the case, why don't we cooperate or make a deal? When you send someone to control the island whale through the Radiance Blue route to the Radiance Federation for trade, you can go to the Radiance Federation's royal capital to look for the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's manager. When the time comes, tell Listen the number of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls needed for each attribute. The next day, I'll send someone to Listen to collect heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls of various attributes." Upon hearing that, Lin was slightly startled. Lin, who had been chosen as an Azure Envoy, was naturally a smart person. From Lin Yuan's words, she guessed that he was likely from the Radiance Federation. Even if he wasn't, he would definitely have a significant foundation in the Radiance Federation. At the same time, Lin also knew that Lin Yuan had unimaginable high-class Creation Master resources in his hands. Things like heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls were just a number to Lin Yuan. It could be said that Lin Yuan had directly solved the problem that her faction had encountered when starting out. In Lin's opinion, this wasn't a deal or cooperation at all but selfless help. Lin Yuan had already given her light, and she would never be able to repay it in her lifetime. Under such circumstances, Lin naturally didn't want to accept Lin Yuan's help for nothing. Lin hoped that she could also bring some value to Lin Yuan. "Then I'll prepare heavy water according to the number of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls I need for Listen." Upon hearing Lin's words, Lin Yuan nodded. The price of something like heavy water in the Radiance Federation was often more than double that of an extraordinary flame. With the opening of the Class 6 Abyss Rift in the Radiance Federation, more factions would go to the Abyss world to explore. The price of heavy water in the Radiance Federation would even slowly become 2 to 3 times that of an extraordinary flame. Furthermore, heavy water had the same effect as an extraordinary flame on fire elemental phase. Many water elemental phase had a requirement for heavy water if they wanted to enhance their bloodline. Lin Yuan currently didn't have any phase that required heavy water. However, heavy water could indeed be used as a kind of resource to preserve value and be collected. Listening to Lin Yuan and Yin Lin's conversation, Bei Su, who had been excited and ready to tell Lin Yuan about the results of these 7 days, slowly became lonely. Compared to Yin Lin, Bei Su felt that he was simply making no progress. The more Bei Su thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. He had clearly worked very hard. He had even worked so hard that getting injured was a common occurrence. In these 7 days, he had wandered on the edge of life and death at least 4 or 5 times. However, not only did he not have a clue about building a faction, but he also didn't even recruit a single subordinate. Chapter 1023. Lin Yuan, who had just finished discussing the cooperation with Yin Lin, naturally noticed Bei Su's expression. Upon seeing Bei Su's depressed expression, Lin Yuan nodded at Wenyu. He let Wenyu display the Celestial Council's function, the astral throne, and then sacrificed some of the useless rules in the princess dress. He then sent the source-type life formation rock crystal he had chosen for Bei Su. The depressed Bei Su heard Lin Yuan say, "I've given you another small gift this time. I've given you another small gift this time. Take it slow. Don't be depressed. A hard-working person will never be treated badly." Lin Yuan's words were like a beam of light on Bei Su's body. Yin Lin also noticed Bei Su's emotions and hurriedly said, "I can't build a faction now. I can't build a faction now without relying on myself. If I had to do it myself, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without a year." When Bei Su heard Yin Lin's words, he immediately pursed his lips a little shyly. Other than his mother, Bei Su had never been comforted by any other female creature in his life. For a moment, Bei Su could not help but blush. While feeling shy, Yin Lin's words did make Bei Su feel much better. Bei Su had a cheerful personality, so his depression came and went quickly. Bei Su had already begun to tell Lin Yuan, Wenyu, and Yin Lin about his experiences in the past 7 days. Lin Yuan, Wenyu, and Yin Lin's scalps tingled when they heard Bei Su's near-death experience. Lin Yuan felt that it was all thanks to the elite blade shadow bat swarm absorb. Otherwise, Bei Su would not have survived until now. Lin Yuan thought of the life formation rock crystal he had just sent to Bei Su through the astral throne. With the life formation rock crystal, Bei Su, who liked to go back and forth between life and death, should have a better chance of survival. Once the 15 minutes were up, Wenyu, who was sitting on the throne of Libra, coughed lightly and said, "Lion, it's time to choose the other 2 members of the Celestial Council. Next, it's time to choose the other 2 members of the Celestial Council." Lin Yuan nodded in response. He had long been impatient for the 2 new members of the Celestial Council. As a result, when Wenyu activated the cat eyes on her forehead, all the other constellations and nebulas flickered, except for Virgo and Perseus. Then, a body formed by a cold will appeared in the Celestial Council. The body formed by the cold will was that of a woman. At this moment, the woman was in a state of confusion. She did not know why she had appeared in this place. After this woman appeared, Bei Su and Yin Lin simultaneously held their breaths. He thought that this woman would be his future companion. However, Lin Yuan and Wenyu did not think so. Their expressions had become interesting. Lin Yuan and Wenyu, who were sitting on the thrones of the 12 ecliptic major constellations, could probe the woman's experience. Lin Yuan felt as though he was reading a book about a woman's experience. And this woman was definitely a vicious supporting female character in the novels. Not only was this woman vicious, but she was also somewhat foolish in Lin Yuan's opinion. This was because the wish that this woman had made before entering the Celestial Council was, "If I can make my sister lose this pregnancy, I am willing to exchange everything I have for it." Lin Yuan's brows twitched wildly as he shook his head at her. If he were to let this woman stay, he would become an expert at aborting babies. When you saw Lin Yuan shake his head, she immediately kicked the woman out of the Celestial Council. Following that, another figure formed from willpower replaced the woman's position. Yin Lin and Bei Su were stunned when they saw this scene. Bei Su and Yin Lin had originally thought that it was fate that they could enter the Celestial Council. However, it now seemed that it was not as simple as fate at all. The two people sitting on the golden thrones in front of them had taken the initiative to choose to redeem themselves. This made Lin Yuan and Wen Yu's kindness even more important in Bei Su and Yin Lin's hearts. The second person, like Bei Su, came from a continent that Lin Yuan had never heard of before. This person's identity was also somewhat interesting. He was actually a son-in-law of a wealthy family, commonly known as a son-in-law. The man had appeared here because he had suffered a lot of anger from the woman's parents. The man's daughter had also been pulling the fur of a precious dog species Fei that her mother-in-law was raising. Her mother-in-law had pressed her daughter into the dog species Fei's exquisite little nest and ordered her to reflect on herself. This caused the man to feel a sense of disgust. The man's wish was, if I can make the god of war return, I am willing to exchange everything I have for it. Lin Yuan did not understand what the god of war's return meant. He asked, "What are you going to do if the god of war returns?" The man who had entered the Celestial Council clearly did not understand the situation and was curiously looking at the brilliant nebula above the Celestial Council. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, he replied without thinking, "The god of war has returned. 100,000 warriors will descend from the sky and trample." Before the man could finish speaking, Lin Yuan asked Wen Yu to kick him out of the Celestial Council. Those who could descend from the sky were at least king-class experts. How dare a gluttonous and lazy gigolo like you think of 100,000 king-class experts? In particular, when Wen Yu heard the man's words, she gritted her teeth. It was all thanks to that wealthy family's young lady who had recruited 88 son-in-laws for the sake of luck that the man in front of her had become inconspicuous. If she had really recruited only this man in front of her, just based on the petty thievery he had done, who knew how many times he would have been divorced by the wealthy family? However, would this wealthy family's young lady's body be able to withstand 88 son-in-laws at once? At that thought, Wen Yu frowned doubtfully. Why should I think about whether that wealthy family's young lady's body could withstand it? Wen Yu shook her head and emptied her mind. She continued to control the nebula of the northern and southern constellations to guide the third person to the Celestial Council. This person's body, which was condensed from willpower, was extremely weak. He must have comprehended the willpower rune not long ago. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows as he checked the third person's experience. He did not expect the third person to be from the On Continent's Iron Hammer Federation. Although this person was not in the Divine Wood Federation, which he was about to go to, he was also from the On Continent. The third person was a youth about the same age as Chu Ci and had an ordinary background. Compared to Bei Su, he was slightly better. At least, he had the love of his family. His grandfather was the leader of a small tribe, and the youth had the talent of a creation master. The tribe members were very respectful to the youth. Through the youth's experience, Lin Yuan not only had an understanding of the youth in front of him. At the same time, he also had a deeper understanding of the entire Iron Hammer Federation. Upon seeing Wen Yu's questioning gaze, Lin Yuan nodded. The youth was willing to use everything in exchange for a chance for his family to survive. Since Lin Yuan had encountered such a wish, he naturally had to fulfill it. However, this youth's situation was different from Yin Lin and Bei Su's at that time. At that time, Yin Lin and Bei Su's situation was not considered urgent, so Lin Yuan could give Yin Lin and Bei Su 7 days to consider. He would then let Yin Lin and Bei Su decide if they wanted to join the Celestial Council. However, the youth in front of him obviously could not. In a few hours, the Iron Hoof tribe, where the youth was, would be attacked by the Black Copper Federation. According to the youth's consciousness, Lin Yuan knew that the Iron Hoof tribe's strongest Fei was just a silver stone mole that the youth's grandfather had contracted. The Black Copper tribe, which had a Class 2 creation master, had several gold Feis. It could be said that the Iron Hoof tribe did not even have a chance to resist the Black Copper tribe's attack. Therefore, Lin Yuan needed to immediately solve the youth's problem. Chapter 1024. Speaking of solutions to the youth's problems, Lin Yuan had thought of two in just a moment. However, Lin Yuan needed to weigh the pros and cons carefully as to which one to use. The first method was for Lin Yuan to pass one of the ethereal jellyfish's main tentacles to the youth named Trey through the Celestial Council. Then, he would open the spatial tunnel to the Divine Wood Federation and teleport to the Divine Wood Federation through it. Lin Yuan would then use the ethereal jellyfish's exclusive skill to open a spatial tunnel to the Iron Hammer Federation. By then, Lin Yuan could easily get rid of the Black Copper tribe alone. If the Black Copper tribe disappeared, the Iron Hoof tribe, where Trey was, would naturally survive. However, there were two drawbacks to this method. On the one hand, opening the spatial tunnel to the Divine Wood Federation now would disrupt Lin Yuan's original plan and rhythm. After all, once the spatial tunnel was opened, Lin Yuan would have to make arrangements. He would have to build his base in the spatial tunnel and nurture the silver splendor around the base. He would have to turn the base into a forbidden area on the Agro continent that would make people tremble in fear. At the same time, this method would also need to consume one of the ethereal jellyfish's main tentacles. It would take a year to grow one of the ethereal jellyfish's main tentacles. Even with the ethereal jellyfish's main tentacles, it would still need a lot of spatial spiritual materials. The spatial tunnel from the Radiance Federation to the Divine Wood Federation would need to consume half of the spatial mother shellfish's outer shell. Even if the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation did not need to cross continents like the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation, the distance would not be close. Lin Yuan did not have so many spatial spiritual materials on hand to consume. Through Trey's experience, Lin Yuan had a deep understanding of the Iron Hammer Federation's importance to creation masters. Any creation master in the Iron Hammer Federation would be accompanied by an Iron Hammer warrior assigned by the Iron Hammer Empire. The weakest of these Iron Hammer warriors was King Class, and they were there to protect the creation masters. Lin Yuan was naturally not afraid of ordinary King Class experts. However, erasing a Class 2 tribe and an Iron Hammer Federation recognized would inevitably cause the Iron Hammer Empire to conduct a strict investigation. It was impossible for the other tribes to not know about the conflict between the Black Copper tribe and the Iron Hoof tribe. At that time, the Iron Hoof tribe would naturally become the target of the Iron Hammer Kingdom's strict investigation. If he really followed the first method, he would just let the Iron Hoof tribe die a slow death, treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Therefore, he ruled out the first method in his heart. As for the second method, it was much simpler. The Iron Hammer Federation placed great importance on creation masters. As long as he could allow Trey to quickly become a Class 1 creation master recognized by the Iron Hammer dynasty in the Celestial Council, Trey would be able to quickly become a Class 1 creation master. Then all the problems would be easily solved. It was much easier for the Iron Hammer Federation to recognize a Class 1 creation master as compared to the Radiance Federation. If a Spirit Chi professional wanted to take the creation master exam in the Radiance Federation, they would need to choose 3 lifestyle occupations. Only by attaining Class 1 in these 3 lifestyle class occupations would they be considered to have completed the prerequisite for the Class 1 creation master exam. Only then would they be able to participate in the Class 1 Creation Master exam. The Radiance Federation's Class 1 Creation Master exam was usually to enhance the phase grade. Lin Yuan had experienced the Class 1 and Class 2 Creation Master exam at the Redbud City's Creation Master Guild, so he was naturally very clear about the Radiance Federation's Class 1 and Class 2 Creation Master exam. However, according to Trey's knowledge, the Iron Hammer Federation's Creation Master exam might be due to the scarcity of creation masters. The Class 1 Creation Master exam was extremely simple. It only required 3 knowledge class occupations, such as Scholar, Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Fey Observer. Then, one could apply to the Iron Hammer Federation's Iron Hammer Kingdom to become a Class 1 Creation Master. The Iron Hammer Kingdom would then send specialized personnel to conduct a detailed exam on the applicant with the knowledge of Scholar, Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Fey Observer. Once the 3 knowledge class occupations were confirmed to be qualified, the Class 1 Creation Master title would be conferred. There was no need to concoct spirit fluids like the Radiance Federation and take an exam to upgrade the phase grade. After all, the foundation for a creation master to concoct spirit fluids required a lot of knowledge. Only during the Class 2 Creation Master exam would the Iron Hammer Kingdom allow the Creation Master to concoct the spirit fluids for real. Lin Yuan guessed that the Iron Hammer Federation had such a loose Class 1 Creation Master exam was to expand the Federation's foundation of low-class Creation Masters. Therefore, in order to resolve Tally's difficulties, Lin Yuan only needed to let Wen Yu execute the Celestial Council Star Spirit Chair. Then, he would let Genius use its exclusive skill, Interconnection Tail, to imbue Tally with the knowledge of Class 1 Scholar, Fey Observer, and Spiritual Ingredient Analyst. As long as Tally had the knowledge of Class 1 Scholar, Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Fey Observer. Even if he didn't know how to concoct spirit fluids, he could still become a Class 1 Creation Master recognized by the Iron Hammer Kingdom. Due to Tally becoming a Class 1 Creation Master, the Iron Hoof Tribe would naturally become a Class 1 tribe recognized by the Iron Hammer Kingdom. At the same time, the Iron Hoof Tribe would also send Iron Hammer warriors to the Iron Hoof Tribe to protect Tally's safety. The Iron Hammer Federation strictly prohibited conflicts between star tribes, but in order to ensure the rights of the High Star Tribes. The High Star Tribes had the absolute right to expel the Earth Star Tribes. Due to the frequent wars with the Divine Wood Federation, the Iron Hammer Federation's vast land was sparsely populated. The High Star Tribes could use the right to expel the Low Star Tribes out of their original territory and let the Low Star Tribes settle elsewhere. However, Lin Yuan didn't need to consider whether the Black Copper Tribe would let the Iron Hoof Tribe settle elsewhere or whether the Iron Hoof Tribe would be willing to move. Furthermore, Lin Yuan was willing to let the Iron Hoof Tribe migrate in the direction of the Divine Wood Federation. The place Lin Yuan had asked Mystic Moon to help find was on the border between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. When the Iron Hoof Tribe migrated to the vicinity of the Divine Wood Federation, Lin Yuan could get in touch with the Iron Hoof Tribe through Tally. He would secretly help the Iron Hoof Tribe and give them a chance encounter. This way, Lin Yuan could also use the Iron Hoof Tribe as his hands and feet to develop in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation at the same time. Tally was still in his sleep, grieving for the separation of his family. Just as he was grieving and desperate, he suddenly appeared in the middle of the starry sky. He looked at the nebula above his head that was constantly emitting magnificent radiance. For a moment, Tally seemed to have forgotten his worries and was immersed in the beautiful starry sky. He only felt that he was dreaming. However, Tally soon reacted. If it was a dream, his current feeling would not be so real. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.